Morning, everybody, and welcome to this first meeting for 2023 for the Development and Property Committee. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we'll start with our land acknowledgement. As we gather this morning, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the First Nations. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. We are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Evelyn, has roll call been taken?
Yes, and we have quorum. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof? Seeing none, I will then need a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Sorry, Chair, we don't need to do that this time. At this time, due to the CAO and warden adopting them.
Okay, thank you. So we have no delegations this morning, and that brings us to our reports. And just before we get started, I just want to welcome all of our new councillors. This is also a new committee for myself, so as you've already witnessed, Evelyn keeps me on track, and if I skip or miss something, I'm sure she will jump in immediately and correct me. And we have a fairly new team as well in the leadership with Director Davis. So I'm going to turn it over to him right now for his department report.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone in 2023. So I'll just start off the committee stating we have 24 days and 26 minutes left to the Ontario Winter Games. As you'll know, there's going to be a big push from the warden and staff to make sure the games go off seamlessly, and we're looking forward to showcase the County of Renfrew for the Ontario Winter Games. And maybe, Chair, if I may, can I ask the warden to have a brief update for the Ontario Winter Games, Chair?
That would be great, thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity, and I have to say that this is probably one of the most exciting and interesting things I've ever done in my life, is to be asked to assist our community, and it is a community event, our community in proceeding with putting the games on. As you know, we have two opening ceremonies, or you may not know, I hope you know. We have two opening ceremonies. They're Thursday, February 2nd, and Thursday, February the 9th, and they're both being held outdoors at Mattaway in Renfrew. Picked Mattaway because of the central location. We have people staying in hotel rooms in Arnprior, Ottawa, Calabogie, Renfrew, Barry's Bay, Pembroke, Petawawa, and Deep River. And one of the limitations for us is that we can only transport our contestants or athletes or competitors up for 35 minutes outside of the exception of the opening ceremonies. So the opening ceremonies will run from approximately 6:30 until approximately 8:30. Pretty exciting program being put together, and it to get them home and into bed, in Deep River or Pembroke or Petawawa or even Ottawa, we hope to have them back to their room by 9:30, 9:45. So we're going to be pretty tight on the agenda, and then the games are at various venues. There are 24 competitions spread across 9 venues. We've had to use Ottawa because of the need for 24 lanes for bowling, which is a traditional winter sport, and we also had to do speed skating in Sensplex in Ottawa. But the rest of the activities and competitions will be in the county. So we're utilizing all 1,400 beds across the county, as well as most of the parents and spectators. We're expecting about 6,000 spectators from outside of the community, and they will all be staying in a variety of hotel rooms and Airbnb and bed and breakfasts. I'm getting emails on a regular basis and adding them to the list and passing them on as quickly as I can. So it's going to be a big event. We think it's about a $5 million, maybe a $6 million advantage to our community. One of the reasons for 2 weekends was that we wanted to ensure that we used every hotel bed 2 weekends in a row, as opposed to moving people outside of the community. We're going to be using about 60 to 80 buses a day, and that's caused us a bit of a problem. We're getting closer to getting that organized, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. The bus companies, they're in the business of busing people around, and as you know, with COVID, there's been a parts shortage, so they weren't sure they could have enough buses, and there's a driver shortage, and they're starting to get that worked out. So we'll be using a combination of school buses provided locally, as well as coaches provided locally and nearly locally. So that's causing a little bit of a strain on our budget, but we're comfortable we're getting close to finishing that up. We have had some cancellations of sports, but we are pretty comfortable with the idea that we're going to have about 2,400 competitors and officials in the various competitions over the 2 weekends. We are still looking for volunteers. We have about 830, I believe, was the last count. We're looking for 1,000, and if somebody wants to volunteer, they can go on to Renfrew County 2023, our website, and there's a tab about volunteers, and it directs you to the various sports, and then there are jobs or opportunities, as they're called, and then a person can click in, and we're looking at about a 5-hour shift. And if you want to volunteer more than once, that's great. We'd really appreciate that. And so as a volunteer, we will give you a coat, a toque, a really neat long sleeve shirt that says volunteer on it, a metal water bottle, and a goodie bag with some information in it that you carry, like the real cool kids, the ones with the strings, drawstrings on your back or over your one shoulder. And we'll also give you an opportunity for 2 draws, which we'll be announcing in the next little while, but really neat things that every household needs, and you'll be proud to have. And then we'll also give you a meal and a get-together small party at the end of the games for our volunteers. So we want a couple of things. We want to ensure that our kids, our athletes, and our soon-to-be athletes recognize you can do anything. Here's the opportunities in sport, and we want to expose everybody to that. So all of our competitions are no admission. They're free admission. And so that was our first thing. Secondly, we also want our community to know we can organize anything. We have a little chip on our shoulder. We're as good as anybody else, and we're better than most. And we put on really good events. And we can do complex, we can do neat, we can do nifty, we can do exciting, but we can do it. And so that was part of one of the other reasons why we took it on. You'll also see some information about our legacy fund. Our legacy fund is something we have to leave behind, as you do with most legacies, and it'll be a fund for children and athletes to draw on in the future. We'll be making some announcements after the games are over and once we know what kind of funding we have available in the fund, so that they can participate in sports. Sports have to be accessible for everybody. I know as a kid I didn't have enough money, and so I was lucky enough there's a couple of service clubs that would give myself and others money for entrance fees to a football camp or a basketball camp or a hockey camp outside of the community. So I was able to stitch together enough money to go to Olympia football camp for basketball and for football, and to Bobby Orr and Mike Walton hockey camp. And those things really, made me a more complete person. Not a better athlete, unfortunately, but a better person. And so we want to do that, and we also want so that if your community is putting together something to make one of your facilities more accessible, whether it's lowering the entrance at your boards for sledge hockey or some other events like that, or if you're putting in an elevator or building a bigger washroom and you've applied to Trillium and you've applied to the ministry, then we'd like to be a funding source down the road. So we want to transition that from the Games Committee to a community foundation concept. And so we'll be working that out after the games are over and once we know how much money we have. And so in short, we need more volunteers. We need your support. You'll be getting a vest like Dan has without the fancy Dan Lynch on it. Dan added that as his own benefit. So you'll be getting that in the very next few days. I think I picked them up Wednesday. But that's not free. I'm going to be asking you for your support. What we'd like to do is when we have the events nailed down, we're going to ask you as a mayor, as a member of county council, for some time. So we'll schedule you into the events so that when people come in the door, they see a recognizable, esteemed member of the community saying, "Hi, how are you? Where are you coming from? And how do you like the games? And how do you like your hotel room?" And so you're going to be our informal welcome committee and our informal committee that susses out how we've done. We'll also be calling upon you to assist us with some of the medal presentations as well. So I'm stitching together some of that in the next couple of days. So you'll hear some more over the next couple of weeks. So we're really going to depend upon you folks to be our ambassadors at the same time. So thank you very much, Chair. And as always, if anybody has any questions, call me, track me down, and I'll do the best I can. You will be getting a bit of an update. I worked on it last night. As I said to the Chair, it ended up being about a 6-page document I was sending you, and so I'm trying to get it down to about 8 paragraphs, like a page and a little bit, because I know, once you get something too complex, and sometimes I'm too wordy, and so I've taken out a lot of the that's, those, and these, and so we should be okay. So thank you.
Thank you, Warden, and certainly appreciate that update, and looking forward to these winter games. I know how much preparation and coordination it takes to put it together, so I'm sure the members of County Council will be more than happy to jump in and assist where we can. Thank you, and back to you. Sorry, Councilor.
Thank you, Chair. To the Warden, with the fire at Calabogie with the pumping station, will that affect anything? We've had a lot of questions in the town. Thank you.
Thank you, and I'm sorry, I was supposed to mention that, and I had actually written it at the top of my agenda. We're not sure yet. We think the alpine vents will be okay. The snow should come. When I'm out every morning in my pajamas walking the dog at 5:30, I do my snow dance. So we're looking, hopefully for about 18 inches between now and then, which we should get seasonally. And the ground has started to freeze up. I understand from the peaks that they're pursuing other equipment to make snow. I know from my own personal experience as a kid, I worked there, and there were a couple of occasions when the snowmaking went down because of compressor problems or a fire, unfortunately. And they brought in compressors, and one of my jobs was to fill them with diesel all night to keep them going. And so I know that there are workarounds, and I know they're working on it. And we're to have a conversation with them a little later on this week to see what their progress is. They've given us a timeline which I'm not really at liberty to mention right now because it's their business, but we think they've got a workaround, and we'll keep the public informed as fast as we can. So we don't think there's going to be a significant problem for us, but we are making some contingency plans.
Thank you. Are there, Councillor Weir.
Yes, Chair and Warden, my understanding is they have located some of the machinery they need. However, it's in Massachusetts, so they're making arrangements to try and get it here. So timeline is just some of the issues right now.
Are there any other questions for the Warden? Seeing none,
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Warden, for the update for the Ontario Winter Games. Again, 24 days and 15 minutes now before the start of the game, so please participate where and when you can. So item number 1 on page 3 of your report is a departmental kind of overview. I know when we were here back in December, we did a quick orientation to County Council about the different departments and divisions, and I'm assuming it was a bit of a data overload. So today we have another brief kind of slideshow deck to overview the department. And as you'll see, we're a department that has a lot of different spokes in a wheel. Whatever doesn't fit in any other department, it comes here. So if we could, Sean, the presentation, please. So as you'll see in the first slide, and the slide deck is in your package there. So as of right now, this department is made up of 4 different divisions: planning, real estate, economic development, and forestry and GIS. And you see how it's broken down there. And what we're looking for, we have an opportunity for the recent job creations. I should say the jobs that Craig Kelly moved into the CAO position. I've moved into Craig's position, And with this, we have an opportunity to really look at this department and how we can deliver services in maybe, I don't want to say a cost-effective way, but a more balanced way. So what we're planning in 2023, so this presentation is an overview. Also, it's a presentation to talk about what we're going to be doing and kind of focusing on in 2023, some of the bigger ticket items in each division. So if we could, Sean, the next slide, what we're looking for, and this is going to be through your budget cycle. So we'll be creating a budget business case through the budget cycle for next month. We're really looking at one column of our division. So instead of having 4 divisions within the Development of Property Committee, we're looking at 3. So what we're looking at is removing my former position of the Manager of Forestry and GIS, and then reallocating the funds for that position to create new positions, a forestry tech position, and an additional GIS planner position within our department. And then also looking at moving some of the trails activities to Public Works. So when this division was, or this department was created, and the division was created in 2014, trails wasn't that big of a deal. We had 21 kilometers of the K&P trail. Since then, in 2016, we purchased the Algonquin Trail, and it's been a beast, to say the least. So our half staff member isn't quite cutting it for forestry and trails. In reality, and you'll see in the activity tracker in the forestry GIS section of your committee, the forestry trails technician position essentially is a full-time trail position. So with this restructuring that's going to be proposed for the 2023 budget cycle, we're looking at reallocating some of these resources to make a better fit for D&P and Public Works and overall the County of Renfrew. So that's our main goal for 2023 in the sense of an overall structure. And what I'd like to do is introduce you to the different managers, and each manager will talk about their division and give you highlights for the 2023 year. Sean? So for forestry right now, it's still within my I'm going to say management right now. And again, that's going to change in the near future during the 2023 budget cycle next month. But for forestry, as a review, we have 53 forestry tracts throughout Renfrew County. Total about, I'm still in Imperial, over 16,000 acres or 6,500 hectares of land throughout Renfrew County. It's managed by a county forester, Lacey Rose, who is beside me here. Our forests are FSC certified forests. We do always anticipate for revenues from these forestry tracts. Every year we budget $180,000 per year for the forestry tracts, and typically over the five-year span we meet or exceed that. Some years we go below, some years we go ahead, above the $180,000, but typically we'll meet that and beat that every year for $180,000 revenues. But for 2023, a number of items that are coming our way. We do have an interest from a telecommunication company looking to have a cell tower being placed on one of our county forestry tracts. Again, you'll see that in your committee package later on. We're reviewing a kind of a new idea of a revenue source of carbon credits. We brought this to the attention of this committee last year. Lacey has been working with a number of companies and reviewing different options. This could be a source of revenue in the future. There are limitations to this, but at least we're reviewing what could be used out there. Right now, Leeds and Grenville has entered into a carbon credit program with a company, and we're looking at them as the leading edge, what we could do for our county forests. Secondly is we are supporting the land claim. There's no surprise that the Algonquins of Ontario have expressed interest in 2 of our forestry tracts, and we're working through that process to see what we can do and to help finalize this land claim with the Algonquins of Ontario. So we'll bring that probably next month in a closed session to give you a brief overview in detail and possibly more information moving forward and how we'll move this forward, this file forward. And last but not least, Lacey, as we all know, does provide input and support for the forest industry. She does outreach and education for students at different schools and colleges, but she is the go-to person for the forest industry for the major items that come our way for forestry activities. So be aware of that. And again, with the new restructuring, if it gets passed at County Council next month, you'll see more and more of Lacey as we move forward. Sean? Again, trails, near and dear to my heart, but it's taken on such a bigger role since what we talked about before, the purchase of the CP rail line in 2016. So again, when we purchased the K&P trail back in 2001, 21 kilometers, easy to manage. We had good partnerships with the local municipalities of Abbotsford, Bromley, and Greater Madawaska. But again, since that acquisition in 2016, trying to build out the trail, a rail trail conversion for 219 kilometers to try and create that into a trail is like I say, I don't like saying the beast onto itself, but it is a large amount of time and effort that goes into this rail trail conversion. I'm very happy to say we've completed 110 kilometers of the Algonquin Trail from Arnprior all the way through to the town of Petawawa. But that takes a lot of effort and energy, and I think we have an opportunity here in next month working with Lee's group to see how we can leverage Lee's assets to make this trail move forward in the near future. So some of the things we're talking about in 2023, another cell tower company is looking to see if they could place a cell tower in one of the rail lands. And I don't mind saying this, in the town of Arnprior. We're not quite there yet in the sense of bringing something to committee right away. But if they express more interest of that, we'll bring this to the committee to review and accept if that's necessary in the near future. We are also looking at, again, this is nothing new to this committee, but maybe new to the new members. We do know that the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, who currently owns about 40 to 50 kilometers of the K&P Trail south of the Calabogie Lake, they're looking at divesting themselves of that portion. And we've been partnered with Lanark County and the County of Frontenac to see if we can purchase the remaining sections from Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority. And we'll be bringing something to you in this committee in the near future to talk about if this is something we wish to move forward on. Last but not least, the biggest thing for us for the Trails Division, whether it's in our department or Public Works, is the completion of the trail. We still have 110-ish kilometers to go from the village of Chalk River through Garrison, Petawawa to finish the rail trail conversion. And you'll see later on in the committee package, it's expected to, I'd love to get this done in 2 more years, get this finalized, and then we can incorporate this into our asset management plan and move forward. But that's going to be a big pressure for us moving forward this year and in 2024 if we can complete this trail all the way to the township of Papineau Cameron. So maybe I'll pass that off now to the Manager of Economic Development, Melissa Marquardt.
Thank you, Jason. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Melissa Marquardt. I'm the Manager of Economic Development and Tourism and Entrepreneurship here with the county. So just under the Economic Development Division, so we are focused on business attraction, retention, expansion, and investment opportunities. So we're promoting Renfrew County as a place to do business, as a place to live, and as a place to play. And a number of initiatives that we take under that purview is assisting investors and developers with site searches. We support businesses, municipalities, and community groups in identifying funding opportunities and assist with those funding applications and write letters of support. We connect local projects and initiatives with businesses and people. And then we promote, as I said, Renfrew County as a destination for meetings and events also. And we also organize the Taste of the Valley event series. Some of the things we've got coming up in 2023, we've got a new Invest Renfrew County website that's launching at the end of this month. We have a new newcomer and workforce attraction development initiative. That is a project that kicked off last fall and will be continuing on for this year, and that's in partnership with a number of our municipalities as well as Algonquin College, the local immigration partnership group, and the labor market groups of Renfrew and Lanark. We are going to be undertaking the development of a new economic development and strategic plan. So our current ECDEV strat plan expired at the end of 2022. So we'll be looking to undertake a new 3-year strategic plan. to guide us over the next few years. And we're going to be hosting an in-person economic development summit in the spring, so stay tuned for that. And that also helps feed into the development of our strategic plan. We are doing a review and revamp of the Taste of the Valley event series. So this event series started in 2006 by the county. We haven't had a full review of that event series since it's been going on, and COVID has created a few changes and impacts as to the way we do things. So we're going to be doing a review of that and sending out expressions of interest for communities to host with us over the next couple of years. And then as meetings and events are coming back in person, we're going to be developing a new strategy for that in terms of putting Renfrew County on the map as a meeting and events destination. Next slide, please, Sean. Next under the bailiwick is tourism. So tourism falls under the purview of the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association, which is the destination marketing organization for Renfrew County. And as well as the City of Pembroke. And this is a three-way partnership between the county, the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association, as well as the City of Pembroke. We are on a 5-year renewable agreement between the three parties, and that agreement is up for renewal this year. So we've started that process with the City of Pembroke, and that will be coming to committee and council later this year for approval. But one of the things that the OVTA does in terms of tourism is we promote Renfrew County as a destination for visitors. So we promote to outside geographic areas, so the City of Ottawa, Toronto, GTA areas, that we promote Renfrew County as a destination, as well as to our local residents here. We are a membership-based association and represent almost 300 tourism businesses across Renfrew County now, which is great. And we are led by a board of directors, and we have a couple of councillors, Councillor Weir, as well as Councillor Bennett, who sits on the OVTA board, as well as a representative from the City of Pembroke and a number of operators elected by the membership from across the county. A couple of things we've got coming up for 2023. We're also launching a new tourism website, so that's going to be launched at the end of this month. As I mentioned, renewal of our agreement. We run an Ottawa Valley Tourism Awards program, so that is also being revamped, and will be those awards are handed out at our annual General Meeting and Tourism Conference, which is held in late April of every year. We are just in the midst of putting the finishing touches on a culinary tourism strategy for the region, and so that's going to help guide the region for the next 3 years in terms of further developing our culinary tourism offerings and putting the Ottawa Valley more on the map as a culinary destination. And we've also applied for funding to undertake a resident engagement strategy, and that was a priority identified in our current strategic plan. And that came out as a result of, obviously, the pandemic and just requiring us to do a better job of speaking to our residents and harnessing the power of our residents as visitors also. So those are things for the OVTA. Lastly, under Enterprise Renfrew County, which is our small business and entrepreneurship center, this is a program that is funded by the province of Ontario through the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. And this is a supported program to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses with their small business, either growing and or starting. So there's a couple of core programs that Enterprise Renfrew County delivers, and that includes the Summer Company program, which is a youth entrepreneurship program. There's the Starter Company Plus program, which is a similar program, but targeted to adults aged 18 and over. We also provide business consultations and one-on-one coaching and training and professional development workshops throughout the year. A couple of the initiatives up for 2023. And we can't announce, and this will be up in the report later on today, but we're developing a Francophone services program because we just received word that the funding for that was approved. So that's great. That's something that hasn't been done before and will help cater to the needs of the Francophone business community here in Pembroke and throughout the Valley. We'll be delivering the Summer Company and Starter Company Plus programs also, revamping and reviving the mentorship program. So the mentorship program is a collection of local business owners and entrepreneurs that work together to help mentor future business owners and startups and stuff like that across the county. And then also continuing with delivering Small Business Week programming and events, which is the second week of October. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm going to jump in here. My name is Bruce Howarth. I'm the Manager of Planning Services, and the next couple of slides just tells you a little bit about what our division does, and the second slide, which we'll get to, is going to provide a quick little update of what 2023 is going to look like. So in the Planning Division, we wear two hats almost. So the first one is we're relating to County of Renfrew approvals. So the Planning Division is responsible for processing and reviewing all applications under the Planning Act that are submitted to the county. So applications that are under the County of Renfrew approvals include adoption and approval of amendments to the County of Renfrew official plan. We approve amendments to local official plan amendments. We are responsible for approving plans of subdivision and plans of condominium application. And also a big portion of that is the approval of consent applications. In addition to that, we provide comments to local municipalities on any County of Renfrew related issues. And also we have the responsibility for, it's called the Municipal Plan Review, or MPR for short. So the province has provided the county with a bunch of information on land use data, whether from various ministries, whether it's from the Ministry of Natural Resources or the Ministry of Environment or Ministry of Transportation. So the province provides all this type of data to Renfrew County Planning, and then we are responsible for sharing that with the local municipalities and also providing comments and relaying on what those provincial interests or issues are that they're asking us to address. The other hat that we have is, so for, I think it's 9 of the local municipalities, so out of the 16 municipalities, there's 9 of the local municipalities that utilize the County of Renfrew services for their own local approvals. We have planning service agreements with these 9 municipalities, and what that means is we take off our County of Renfrew hat and put on a local hat, and we provide staffing support to the municipality for the processing and providing planning support related to the local approval. So that includes zoning bylaw amendments, minor variances, and site plans. The next slide there, Sean. So the second portion is just what we're looking at for 2023. So we have a number of large projects that we've been working on. One of them we'll be talking about later on today, and this is the implementation of provincial changes. So recently the province has passed a number of bills, whether it's Bill 13, Bill 109, Bill 23, and we're understanding that there's the province has announced future changes also coming up with regards to the provincial policy statement. So these are significant changes to the Planning Act and legislations that the county has to stay on top of and our local municipalities need to stay on top of, and it's going to result in changes to our official plan policies and bylaws as these new amendments trickle down and impact our things. So the Planning Division is keeping up to date with that and implementing those changes as required by the province. We have, so to back up a couple of years, about 2 years ago, the County of Renfrew passed a significant update to our official plan. And what that does is that it triggers the need for local municipalities to update their zoning bylaws to make sure that they're complying and in conformity with those changes. So municipalities, after we've updated the official plan, they have 3 years to update their zoning bylaws to make sure they match with the official plan. So we've started working with a number of the local municipalities as our capacity permits. And so we've completed one bylaw update for the township of Bonaire Valley, and we are in the process right now of working with the townships of Killu Haggerty Richards, North Algona Wilberforce, Laurentian Hills, and Head Clare Mariah on updates to their bylaws. And we have several other municipalities in the queue that, as we sort of get the staffing capacity or as our time permits, to continue to update those bylaws and work on those projects, which are significant undertakings. This past year, we've received several subdivision applications, which we continue to process and review. There's a list of them there on the slide. They include some applications in Greater Madawaska, several in Arnprior, Madawaska Valley, and also Whitewater Region. And in addition, we received and working on 3 aggregate applications, which take a significant amount of time and work as well. So there's 3 proposals. And actually, there's more that we've been doing general inquiries on and working with applications, so we know that there's going to be some more coming in 2023 as well. But these are significant files that take up a lot of staff time and resources to review them. So the ones that we have right now that we know are in the queue are Bonaire Valley. We have one for an expansion. We have, which actually is on today's agenda, but we have Tomlinson Pit in Horton, and we have a quarry proposal in McNabb Braeside, which staff are working on. And I believe that concludes the planning update. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kevin Raditz, manager of the real estate division. So also in our division, we wear two hats as well. So we have two portfolios, and of course the one portfolio we refer to as the real property assets, and that basically consists of the 8 buildings owned by the County of Renfrew, which is the administration buildings, paramedic bases, and of course the one OPP building in Renfrew, for a total of 110,830 square feet. The second portfolio is the Renfrew County Housing Corporation, and this is the county-owned rental housing, and it consists of about 1,020 units across the county, and this is the duplexes, row houses, and apartment-type units, which is a total of a little over 1.2 million square feet. Of course, the services that we provide is the day-to-day operations and maintenance of the buildings and facilities. We do the project management, which consists of probably on an average of $5 to $6 million worth of capital projects between the two portfolios. We also do the building condition assessments. We're involved in lease management and, of course, energy management and procurement. For 2023, some of our objectives are what we want to focus on. Of course, we have a key project, which is for the Renfrew County Housing Corporation portfolio, and that's the integrated community housing build we planned for 2023, which will be happening in Pembroke at the corner of Douglas and Lee Street. Of course, we'll have several capital projects in both portfolios, and as I mentioned, we do about $5 to $6 million worth of capital projects per year. Of course, this will involve roof replacement, structural upgrades, and some mechanical improvements. Also, we want to continue to review, and we want to ensure that our records are accurate for any updates for current codes and compliance for the authorities having jurisdiction. Also, we want to review and evaluate our preventive maintenance schedules. Again, with managing over 1.3 million square feet, there's a lot of day-to-day preventive maintenance routines that we do. So you want to kind of review that and see if there's any place where you can improve pertaining to the schedules. Also, we want to enhance the process for the building condition assessments. And of course, that's where we do audits, and that kind of involves the inspection of the buildings, and it allows us to initiate an assessment for a 10-year capital program as to what needs to be replaced. And last but not least is also we want to continue to review any current and future contracts. Of course, we're always looking for cost savings in any of our contracts. And that is what we do in real estate division.
Thank you, team members. So again, a really brief summary of what our activities are, and again, moving forward for 2023. And hopefully you get the idea, a very wide variety of services we provide and supply to local municipalities yourselves as we move forward. So again, a catch-all department. And if I may, Chair, I'll go to item number 2, if I can. So item number 2 on page 3 of your report, the Pikwakanagan flag. Something new for some of the older councillors, but for the new councillors, you'll maybe notice that we do have a flag installed in our front foyer here. The Algonquins of Pikwakanagan did supply us, through the former warden, their flag to recognize we're on traditional territory of the Algonquin people, so we recognize that with the flag installed just this past week. So please be aware of that. Item number 3 is called Zen City Public Engagement. It's an ongoing kind of topic. You'll see in the background or in the information in your report on page 3. Back in 2022, County Council approved the use of funding received in the Municipal Modernization Program intakes 2 and 3 for a number of items identified by the Perry Group. So the Perry Group was hired by the County of Renfrew to review IT overall. And some of the items they did highlight include the GIS ESRI Enterprise License Agreement you might have heard of before, and we've implemented it through your local municipalities. Similar to that, the County of Renfrew hired and purchased Zen City Public Engagement. It's a web-based application to provide information about projects that the county may or may not be doing, or may be doing, I should say, for the public engagement. Again, a web-based application. I see this as a very beneficial way of delivering information to the public, and more importantly, getting information back from the public. So it's a two-way street, not just a one-way street where the County of Renfrew has a project and here's some information. With this application, for county staff, as of right now, can get information to and from the public in real time. So we can start a project, provide information all the way through the life cycle of any project. And I could see this as a huge benefit to the County of Renfrew back in 2016, when we did a number of open houses and discussions with the public about the Algonquin Trail, what we were deciding to do with the Algonquin Trail. So we could have used this application for the public engagement going back and forth. So I see this as a benefit. It's brand new for us. County staff will be doing a quick overview just this week. So that's how new it is to us. But more importantly, and hopefully for you to bring back to your local municipalities, this service is offered to your local municipality also. So it's a sharing of services, and hopefully you can jump in on this. Again, because it's so new for us, we'll get our feet underneath us, and then we'll pass this information on to your local municipalities, and hopefully you can utilize this to have your public engagement, no matter what the topic may be, whether it's planning, real property, whatever you may see where you want public engagement back and forth. This web-based application is a simple solution for staff to use and for the elected to get a better understanding of any topic. So that's item number 3, Chair, on your report. Item number 4, and then we're moving on to page 4 of the report. It's the road show. A number of local councillors here that have been here a while may remember we've done road shows before. So what we're looking for is information, or if you're interested in having the D&P and the operations committees meet at local municipalities. When I think the last time we did this was 2015, I do believe, and maybe CAO Craig Kelly can correct me when the date was. Very beneficial, though. It provides information to local municipality, local staff, what this committee does in operations, because we're on the same day, what we do, and sometimes we have a good discussion with the staff while we're there, so it's an opportunity. If you see a fit for your local municipalities, reach out to us, and we'll organize that. We'll do hopefully 2 this year and 2 in the following years to come. So please do consider that. Ask the information and ask for dates with Evelyn and myself if you could. Maybe I'll stop there for now, Chair, and then move on to the bylaws.
Thank you very much. So, excuse me, we'll go back to the beginning. Information item number 1 is the Development and Property Department overviews, and I just want to say for especially all of the new councillors that you've got a very, very experienced and supportive team of people here, and I know if you reach out, they will certainly be more than willing to help you in any area that you may need assistance, and certainly something that I have discovered to be very, very helpful for our local municipalities. So I'll turn it over to committee. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, Warden.
Thank you. Just to give you a sense of the kind of things that you can get assistance with, if you noticed the Eganville Leader last week, Force Ontario, Rob Keane, the executive director, had an article in talking about wood supply and the importance of replanting. They contacted me, I think in August or September, about the article. I spoke with Director Davis and then with Ms. Rose and with Mr. Waibu, and they gave me probably 3 pages of information, which I was able to then distill into into a comment. Unfortunately, the article should have been a full-page article because we had lots of information to give them. But I have kept that information for the future. Other instances, Lacey and I have flown to Toronto to lobby the Minister of Natural Environment, or sorry, the Minister of Natural Resources a number of times about wood fiber. Once was, I believe, the Algonquin Park. There's always, it cycles every 4 or 5 years where a group decides that there doesn't need to be access to Algonquin Park for logging, which is a very natural and beneficial practice to the park. So we've had that a couple of times. We've also done endangered species. Melissa has also been, helpful, especially with the recent County of Renfrew days in November, but any other time too, in providing information on the 1.5 million people that come here, what kind of spend, what kind of investment might be needed. So those are the kinds of things that when you're doing, when you're undertaking maybe grants on your own behalf or just in speaking publicly that you need some information on. Kevin has been very helpful when looking at rental rates around the community for some of our lower tier municipalities as they set up their own real estate enterprise. And of course, Bruce, we've spent a number of times talking about a variety of zoning challenges, and then also in my role with the Imo and Roma, sometimes I have to speak with knowledge, which I don't have on land use planning issues and policy. So again, he's very quickly able to send out a past report or a series of paragraphs from reports which allow me to speak with some confidence. And so I think those are the kinds of things that aren't spoken about that we really benefit from. And as Jason should have mentioned, is that with the trail, he and his division and Anthony have done a great job of forming a relationship with the local ATV group. They went from nothing, I'll say 6 years ago, to a very strong and robust membership, which provides funding for investment, and also with the snowmobile clubs. And so these folks are on the forefront of forming the relationships that we need to build our community, but then also to invest in the community. And Jason, I think in the past we've provided information on the benefit of snowmobile and ATV and side-by-side traffic to the community, and that might be something that we'll get down the road, but that is there. So there's lots of information to pull with proper notice, not Peter notice, but real people notice, for various presentations and events. So I just wanted to make note that it's a very complex department, lots of information that's beneficial to you on the ground every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden, for that background information. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, item 2 is the Pikwakanagan flag. Questions or comments? Item number 3 is the Zen City public engagement. Yes, Councillor Weir.
When do you expect that or to go live, or long time, short time, anything?
Through you, Chair, if I may, to the councillor. So again, very, very new to us right now. So the initial kickoff 1 half-hour meeting is scheduled for county staff this week. So I would anticipate something to the local municipalities within, I caution when I say the end of the month, but no later than February. So in February, you'll receive information, login information, how to access the site, and step-by-step process for local municipal staff to use and utilize this application. So I'd say February.
Thank you. And one of my questions was, is this a platform then that could be used to replace the public planning meetings?
As of right now, if I may, Chair, not right now. And we'll keep it simple for larger projects, and we'll keep the planning separate for the public meetings as of right now.
Thank you. Any other comments? Warden.
Just from my understanding, what is the application for the public? What will they gain from it? And what will I gain from it if I log in? And so I'm assuming that I individually, or there will be a portal where I individually as a consumer can log in and pull out information?
So if I may, Chair, through you to the warden, so what we're envisioning, so any project, whatever the project may be, so Public Works. So if Public Works has, for an example, if Public Works has a redesign or a rebuild of a road, a county road or a county structure, what they can do, the Public Works staff can upload all the information that they need to inform the public. But more importantly, as a user, you can then make comments and provide information quickly back in a one-stop shop to the County of Renfrew staff for them to review and make comments. There's analytics behind that also, so the analytics will give us information who's engaged where and when, and then we can provide that to the elected. But more importantly, what I see in this application is we can update the progress report. So how many times have a public person, where are we at in a subdivision process? Where are we at in a road project? This will be updated by the staff where we're at. And that will hopefully cut down on some of the costs for the calls you may receive to the elected and to ourselves by having that information at a one-stop shop.
So if I might, just to drill down a little bit, if I live on Norton Road, County Road 34, and there's a plan in 3 years to straighten out that little wiggle, so when the project goes up and I'm one of the property owners, I can say, oh, you're straightening out the little wiggle. I'm the property owner you should be talking to about land, or that the utility pole that's on that property, you're going to have to move it in, I think, 6 or 8 feet from your diagram, so you can approach me and approach Hydro One. Is that kind of how I understand its functionality as well?
If I may, Chair, part and parcel, yes. So hopefully, in that one example about the hydro pole, we'd be well in advance of contacting you, but yes. So that's the whole idea, engage the public right off the bat, and then getting the feedback going back and forth. And we have, again, a one-stop shop. We have the information, and more importantly, the elected will have the information also about who's asking the questions and when and where.
Final question, and I promise. Will that also be the portal or the area that various ministries and local municipalities will use? Then we don't have to chase out and send specific invitations with deadlines. We can just send that out as a means, and will that also assist us with our duty to consult?
If I may, Chair, through to the warden, as of right now, I'll say no. I want to make sure the capability could be there, but the way it's set up, it's going to be, we're going to do baby steps first to do the projects, and then once we see how it works with the baby steps, then we'll look at the application, especially the planning applications as we move forward, and that could be a possibility, but I'm going to caution no, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Service and then Councillor Weir.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Jason. So this sounds like an interesting project, and you mentioned that you are going to eventually download it to the municipalities in some fashion. Now, is that just for the members of my municipality to make comments and provide feedback on county projects, or would that also be for our own municipal projects eventually?
If I may, Chair, through you to the councillors, the answer to that is yes to both questions. So your staff can provide comments, absolutely, but more importantly, what I see the benefit of this is your staff can actually utilize this application for your own municipal purposes, your own municipal projects, whether it be for recreation, for input from the public, for your budget review, whatever it may be, this application will be utilized or could be utilized by your staff.
Yeah, supplementary.
Just a follow-up, if I may. Yeah. So it will be housed and coordinated by the county, but then available through a link, I'm guessing, on our website for our staff to download projects and receive that feedback through our own website.
If I may, so that's the case. So the County of Renfrew is paying for the service through the intake of the municipal modernization funds, and we're passing off this service to local municipalities as part of this. So yes, and we hope you will engage with this application. I see this as I mentioned before, as a great benefit to your local municipality, but again, it's the matter of your staff willing and wanting to take the uptake. Thank you.
Councillor Weir.
My question has been asked and answered. Thank you.
And I just had one thought come to mind after the warden's comments, and in relation to public works. So the projects that would be posted on Public Works, are they just the current projects scheduled for the upcoming year, or would there be anything posted there from the asset management plan that might look 2-3 years into the future. So if public had a question, they could present that question. Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Chair, and through you to committee. Right now, our asset management plan is for a 10-year capital program, and we do share it with all the lower tier municipalities, public works and engineering directors. Our hope here would be every year we'd only be able to give you that year because, again, it's pending funding and pending budget approval. So we may bring in the budget process 12 projects to the budget process and find out only 10 can go ahead. So that's the 10 we would want to share with the public. But behind the scenes, all your lower tier staff, they all know what is in the next 10 years for their particular municipality. But publicly facing, we would want to make sure that those projects that are going ahead in the 2023 year are up and available for any questions or comments from the public.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Watt.
Through you, Chair, to Mr. Davis. I know you said that Renfrew County was paying for this. Will there be any charge at all to the municipalities, just for clarity's sake?
For clarity and for a definitive answer, not right now. So we're paying for this for 2023, 2024, and 2025. So beyond that, I don't know. I can't say a yes forever, but right now, no. The County of Renfrew will be paying for this as we move forward. Thank you.
Councillor Service, did you have another question? No. Thank you. Any other further comments or questions? Seeing none, then we will move to item number 4, which is the Development and Property Committee Roadshow. Comments, questions? I think this is an excellent idea and initiative, especially for maybe some of the newer councillors. And I know in previous years we did have, although we had to do it virtually, we did have meetings that were led by the CAO and some of the different committee directors. And I'm just wondering if that will also be something that would be considered moving forward. And maybe I'll ask Mr. Kelly about that.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. So 2 items to think about. So your question was more about an initiative that previous wardens had initiated. So I am sure that the current warden might want to reach out and do a bit of a talk about with the current councils that are in place across the municipalities. What we're discussing today, and I believe it's also in the Operations Committee report, is to do this committee in your municipality, should you so wish. So there would be some coordination. So if you're asking to host DNP, you're likely also asking to host operations because of the days, travel and staff and everything else, and because a lot of the people that sit on the committees are back and forth. I think the last one was in Palmer Rapids, I think, of just before the pandemic hit, I think in 2019. Yeah, it was a great lunch and terrible internet service, so it was one of those days. But we're happy to do it again. So 2 different things. I know the wardens over many years, and I know Warden Ema is of the same mind, to go out and do a bit of a hi, how are you with senior leadership and do that, and then these 2 items to be assessed today.
Thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, then I'll go back to Mr. Davis for bylaws.
Thank you, Chair. And the last item in my section of the report on page 4 under bylaws, and I'll read the recommendation and I'll stop for a second. The recommendation that the Development and Property Committee recommends that County Council pass a bylaw to enter into an Active Transportation Fund AFT contribution agreement for the Algonquin Trail Active Transportation Enhancements with the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure and Communities, confirming that it meets all the requirements of the Active Transportation Fund agreement, and further that the warden and the clerk be authorized to execute an agreement on behalf of the County of Renfrew.
You've heard the recommendation. Can I get a mover and a seconder before we move to discussion? Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Chair. And as background of this, again, we'll talk a little bit about this when we into further detail about the amounts, but as a background in the open session, as a policy for the County of Renfrew, the county staff will always apply for grants where we see it fit, especially for the trails. We have direction from County Council. We'll always be looking for grants. In this situation, we heard about this grant opportunity back late last year. We applied for this grant. As you see in the background information, the grant talks about improving the Algonquin Trail and the Laurentian Hills, Head Clare, Mariah. So we're talking about improvements of 52 kilometers of the trail where right now there is no trail. It's an abandoned corridor. So it's, I'll say it's a large sum of money, but with this agreement and this grant will push the completion date again of the Algonquin Trail up about 2 to 3 years. So again, when we talk about improvements to a trail, so when the trail or rail line is discontinued, all it is ballast. So a typical rail trail conversion for us is we'll go up in whatever location. In this location we'll brush the area because it has been overgrown with vegetation. We'll brush the trail. If need be, we'll do ditching, complete some ditching to improve the water courses. And then we'll grade and pack the existing ballast. And the biggest cost that we have is laying down of aggregate. Typically it's stone dust, limestone stone dust to make that smooth surface for all users. And the biggest thing for this agreement, and maybe to bring an update to this committee, back about 2 years ago, we graciously received about 100,000 tons of limestone stone dust from the Ministry of Transportation. So we have the aggregate ready. We have 2 stockpiles. We have a stockpile in the village of Chalk River, about 53,000 tons of limestone stone dust, and another stockpile of stone dust in De Riviere in the northern part of our county. So with this grant, the successful grant that we received, we'll be moving the majority of the stone dust onto the trail now. So we're thankful of MTO for their letter of support. We're thankful for MTO for the actual giving us of line stone dust. And again, this grant, if approved by County Council and yourselves, will move the completion of the trail by years. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Any comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to the Economic Development Division report. And Ms. Markwood, please.
Thank you, Chair. So first up on the Economic Development Report is an announcement from the Ontario Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs about the Rural Economic Development Program. So that is also known as the RED program. That is being launched on January 23rd for their next round of funding. So that's just to put that on the radar of all of our municipal partners, because that's a great program that we all tend to tap into quite frequently. And the ECDev department is planning to submit an application to assist with funding for our strategic plan and our economic development summit later this year. Number 2 is just an update to the Ontario Wildlife Damage Compensation Program. You will see attached for information a letter from the Federal Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, as well as the Ontario Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. And this is just a change to the threshold for claim applications that has been increased from 5 to 10 in a calendar year before a reasonable care plan needs to be submitted. Number 3, the 2024 Municipal Agriculture Economic Development and Planning Forum. So this is a program delivered again by the Ontario Ministry of Agricultural, Rural Food and Affairs. And we are submitting an application to host this event in 2024. This is a provincial program. It started in 2009 and is hosted in different communities each year. So further down in the report, you'll notice where the previous events have been held. And there's never been an event held in Eastern Ontario before. So we've submitted an application as an expression of interest to host that, which would be in 2024. The event this year is being held in Timiskaming Shores, and so we will be involved with the planning of that, just so we can learn along the way through our economic development staff and planning staff. But this is a good opportunity to bring together economic development officers as well as planning officials to speak on agricultural issues and on farm diversification and programs such as that. So hopefully we will learn sometime earlier in 2023 whether we're accepted to host that. Item number 4 is a selling food workshop. Again, another OMAFRA program. We're looking to host this workshop in March of 2023, and this is a program we've hosted previously. It's been a couple of years since we've hosted this one. But this is an opportunity for food producers and farmers and that to learn about the needs of selling food and getting your food products into various channels, pricing, getting listed in store shelves, the labeling requirements, food trends, all that kind of stuff. So again, we'll be working with OMAFRA to deliver that, and the dates and locations will be announced very shortly. Number 5 on the list is Taste of the Valley. So we held 7 events in 2022. And I do have to say that I erred on my report because I'm missing Eganville as one of the locations on there, so apologies to Bonashare Valley. But we did hold an event in Barry's Bay, Armprior, Deep River, Eganville, Renfrew, and Cobden, as well as a holiday market in November in Laurentian Valley. So we are doing a complete review of these events because, as I mentioned, they began in 2006. We did do a survey to all of our vendors just at the end of this year's events, and the feedback was really, really great. Everybody's very happy, and we did receive some other feedback just to take into consideration for improvements for next year. So we'll be taking a look at that through our economic development team, and then issuing expressions of interest for our communities to host that in partnership with us. Number 6 is the Esri Community Analyst Data Subscription. Through the GIS department, they have a subscription to the Esri tool, and so we, through economic development, are subscribing to the Community Analyst tool, which will provide us with actually more detailed information to create profiles for investment opportunities, as well as just community profiles for all of our municipalities, and provide a little bit more updated information. So that tool is going to be coming into play for us in the next week or so. Number 7 is just a recap of the County of Renfrew Day at Queen's Park. So this was an event held on November 3rd, and this was an opportunity to promote Renfrew County to all of the members of Parliament in Ontario at Queen's Park, and to promote all the great things that Renfrew County does and some of our unique businesses. We had a number of businesses from across the county here who you will see in the report, including Plain Tree Systems and Elmira Stoves from Armprior, Laverne Heidemann and Sons from Eganville, Roseburg MDF from Pembroke, and Whitewater Region, Square Timber Brewing. We had the Renfrew County Agricultural Economic Development Committee, as well as our board reps from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture, representatives from the OVTA, as well as the Renfrew County Community Futures Development Corporation. It was a big event to plan, but I think it went off really well. We had really, really great feedback from members of the legislature. We provided a gift bag that was a bit of a taste of the valley that featured a number of local products from across the region that was handed out to all members of Parliament, and it was so popular that Minister Yakubuski approached us afterwards to ask for an additional 20 bags to be sent because there were those that missed out on the day of. So we know that they were in high demand, those bags. Number 8, Canadian Nuclear Laboratories Supplier Meet and Greet event. So again, this is an event held on December 7th. This is an opportunity for our local suppliers to engage with Chalk River directly, as well as their larger tier suppliers. As we know, it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes for smaller businesses and smaller suppliers to get into the CNL workforce chain and to be on their radar. So these supplier events are held 1 to 2 times a year and are an opportunity for our smaller local suppliers just to learn the process of getting involved with Canadian nuclear laboratories, how they get their foot in the door, and how they can work with some of those larger suppliers. And so that event was held on December 7th. Number 9 is just a piece of information. You will see I distributed to all of you a copy of the Good Stuff Made in Eastern Ontario. So that was the last portion of our marketing campaign that we do with the Eastern Ontario Business Journal. And so in that magazine, comes out once a year, where they highlight all of the unique products, businesses that are located in Eastern Ontario. And so starting on page 8 is the list of 35 surprising things. And you will notice in that list, we've got a number of businesses from Renfrew County that are mentioned. So on number 1 is Composition Composites from Arnprior. Number 9 is Metalingna from Arnprior. Number 18 is Roseburg MDF. 21 is KI Pembroke. 22 is the Wild Canadian Tea Company out of Eganville. And number 35 is the Elmira Stoveworks Company, which is a division of Plane Tree Systems in Arnprior. You'll also see flagged in that page in the magazine is a double-page spread promoting Renfrew County as a place to do business and invest. And then following that, on page 26 is an article featuring the recent groundbreaking at Canadian Nuclear Laboratories. So again, this is part of our marketing efforts through economic development and a really great partnership that we have with the Eastern Ontario Business Journal, just promoting Renfrew County as a place to do business and invest. And we'll be continuing that partnership in 2023 as well. Lastly, on my AcDev report, just since we're talking about roadshows this morning, we will be reaching out to all municipalities across Renfrew County just to request some delegation time. And that's an opportunity for us to promote and talk about what we do through the Economic Development Department here at the county. And so we'll be reaching out to schedule those over the course of 2023, and that would be a delegation with myself and Director Davis, as I said, who will just come and talk about all the services through economic development and identify any areas of partnership. And that concludes my AcDev report at this time, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Marquardt. So we'll go back to item number 1, the Rural Economic Development Funding Announcement. Comments, questions? Seeing none, item number 2 is the Ontario Wildlife Damage Compensation Program. Just a question, is this getting any traction? Does it look like there's a possibility that it will be supported?
Through your chair, I honestly don't know. I'm going to be frank and honest about that. I'm just being made aware of this program. We'll be sharing it out with our Economic Development Partners group later this week, so that it gets fed down into all the municipal partners as well, for those that do have those programs in place.
Thank you. I mean, I do think this is very, very important as predation is becoming much more prevalent in some of the rural municipalities. So yeah, I think this is a good idea. Item number 3 is the Municipal Agriculture Economic Development and Planning Forum. Questions, comments? Item number 4 is the Selling Food Workshop. Item number 5 is Taste of the Valley. Yes, Councillor Service.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Melissa. It sounds like this was a very successful event all across the county, so congratulations. And how would a municipality express an interest in becoming a part of this in the future?
Through you, Chair. So we'll be reaching out to all, this will be a call out that'll go to all of our municipal partners that will be handed out, and we're looking to identify locations over 2 years so we can kind of get a little bit of advanced planning in place. So there'll be opportunities for 2023 as well as 2024, and we'll send that expression out, and then it'll be a matter of our municipal partners and community partners who are interested just submitting an expression of interest, and then we'll review all those and schedule them out over the next couple of years.
Thank you. Moving on then, item number 6 is the Esri Community Analyst Data Subscription. Item 7 is County of Renfrew Day at Queen's Park. Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. Not only were the business people there, but we had a big pitch on for our VTAC through Mike Nolan, our Director Nolan, and the warden. And of course, we had our warden today plus Cindy promoting the Ontario Winter Games. That was the goal, to get the MPPs on side for VTAC and for the Ontario Winter Games. So well done, Melissa. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Warden, did you have a comment?
Yeah, it was extremely well done. We'd never done anything like that before, and it was a concept that Director Kelly had started prior to COVID. And I was also at the same time trying to leverage it for the Ontario Winter Games. So luckily enough, we communicated and combined our efforts, and Craig was able to put it together in about 6 days, where I'd been struggling and pounding away for 2 years. So it went really well. Staff did an awesome job of taking over the adjoining rooms that we had, and just laying out a nice display, a nice flow. We had someone at the door greeting and taking names and information. Bags were handed out, and then the visitors were escorted around through the area for introduction to the various businesses and those assembled. And so that was, and then partly, mostly Dan and I just sort of free flowed around and glad-handed, and it was really well done. And I hope that we continue to do it again in the future. I think it really raised our profile. I have no measurement other than I know that in following it through social media, lots of tweets and some Instagram stuff from senior staff from the various ministries, and then also from the ministers and MPPs that were present. They were very glad to be there. Had a lot of good conversations with at least 6 ministers and some parliamentary assistants off in the corner. And as Councillor Lynch noted, Chief Nolan and Warden Robinson had an excellent meeting with some of the ministry folks around VTAC, and I believe Craig was there as well. And I think it's a very useful vehicle for us. Money's going to be tight, and unfortunately, rural Ontario, if you're not front of mind, you're at the back of the bus. And so we have to be front of mind, and this was a good opportunity for us to be front of mind. So thank you to staff and to the CAO for putting it together.
Thank you for that. Any other comments? Seeing none, then we'll go to item 8, which is the Canadian Nuclear Laboratories Supplier Meet and Greet event. Warden Nemo.
Sorry, I was busy in December. This was a great event. Had a lot of opportunities to meet with local companies. Hadn't connected with them for 3 or 4 years, I think primarily because of COVID. But it was nice to see the innovation and how they have pivoted to take advantage of the benefits of CNL in our community. It may not have been their primary focus 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but they pivoted to be able to fill a need for CNL. So it's kept some of the supply chain items in the county and not out of the county, and I think that's important for us. One of the things we pitched 10 years ago as we moved to the GoCo model, or 11 years ago as we moved to, was we wanted to develop our own cluster to try and enhance and build on some of our existing businesses. What we noticed when we did the tour in the U.S. was that wherever nuclear facilities were located, it seemed to be best for the community to have a cluster of businesses that service them outside the plant gate, so to speak. And so I think, if we can keep doing that, it's going to be a pretty impressive future for us. I think too, it's interesting watching the innovation and the pride that the staff from the various companies have when they talk about what they do. I spent about 2 hours just circulating, chatting, handing out my card, just getting a sense of things. And one of the most innovative things for us recently was the recent announcement by Sullivan's and Algonquins of Pikwakanagan First Nation. They formed a construction group partnership now. It's called Pikwakanagan Sullivan, and it's a branch of Sullivan in Arnprior. I'd sent Dan the link to inform them. So they put that together and announced it, I think, well, at the event. And it's a very progressive idea that is timely. And it's in keeping with our vision when we signed the memo of understanding with Algonquins of Pikwakanagan First Nation about economic opportunity and having their community flourish at the same time as the county does. So it was a really good event. I hope they do it, as is said, every 6 months or so. So I hope, when the invitations go out or notifications, that you take advantage of. I think you'll be very, very impressed. And so well done to our staff. David Weibu was there, Melissa was there, and a couple other folks. And so we had good representation. And it's nice to see the respect they have for our staff and the ability to have conversations that sometimes are slightly confidential, but it's just, here's what we're doing, here's what we're thinking of doing, here's the partnership we're going to do. And so it's nice to be a part of that. And I think that, that's a very good model for us to ensure that we work towards the benefit of our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Any other comments? Seeing none, then we'll move to item 9, which is the Ottawa Business Journal marketing campaign.
I'm really sorry. The Business Journal, and if I hate to put Melissa on the spot, but if you could just remind us, the focus for us when we got involved, and I say us meaning the County of Renfrew, I had nothing to do with it, was that they provided us with an opportunity because of their digital outreach, because they have a significant digital outreach across Ontario, and I can't remember the numbers, and then also because of this, this promotional material, and I don't mean that disparagingly, but the magazine itself can serve as a promotional vehicle for us.
Through you, Chair. Yes, so this is part of a full marketing campaign that we take throughout the year. So we have, it includes digital and print. So the magazine itself, as I said, is a one-time print, but they also have their print version of their journal, which comes out 6 times a year. So we have a print ad in that, as well as the digital newsletter. So we have a continuing ad every month in their monthly newsletter that goes out as well. And then we were also featured in 2 podcasts throughout the year that they also have as well. So I don't have the full outreach numbers here, but I can provide a full report once this is all wrapped up in the next report in terms of the outreach and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? So finally, item number 10 is the Economic Development Municipal Roadshow. Comments, questions? I'm seeing none. Just a question for Evelyn. Do I have to get a mover and a seconder to adopt each individual report? Thank you. So once again, I'll turn back to Ms. Markwood for the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association report.
Thank you, Chair. So first up on the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association report is the State of Ontario Tourism Industry Report from 2022. So this was released by the Tourism Industry Association of Ontario, which is our provincial advocacy lobbying organization on behalf of the Ontario tourism industry. This was released in conjunction with the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and has been presented to the Ministry of Tourism, but has not officially been accepted yet. So this is just a report that they've made public that they said they have presented, but the ministry has not provided any further discussion or feedback on that at this time. But I just wanted to include here because the report obviously focuses a lot on the recovery efforts and where COVID-19 has impacted our industry. And it provides a number of recommendations where they feel that the industry will be able to recover and further grow if they get the support of some of these things. So the recommendations are grouped under 4 sections, including the economy, labor, infrastructure, and the future of tourism. I've pulled in here some of the highlights. So, with meetings and events coming back into play, developing a strategy for business events, for destination marketing organizations is what they're recommending. They're also recommending amendments to the municipal accommodation tax that would support tourism marketing and product development, and alternate revenue tools to support local tourism promotion, specifically in northern, rural, and remote areas where the MAT cannot be applied. A freeze on the federal excise tax on beer, wine, and spirits, eliminating or at least deferring the automatic provincial beer tax increase that's supposed to take effect on March 1st. Developing a destination marketing opportunity fund to amplify tourism marketing and product development, specifically in rural and northern tourism regions, with the objective of cultivating stronger domestic markets for sustainable visitation, as well as more collaboration between ministries, all levels of government, to ensure better transit and transportation, again, with an emphasis on rural destinations. Supports for supporting municipal governments for wayfinding signs and amenities, like public washrooms, for example. Leveraging some of our key existing products, like the Rouge Champlain, which is heavily part of the Ottawa Valley's tourism marketing program, to help further bring in more Franco-Ontarian visitors and benefit the Franco-Ontarian community. Working with private sector and municipalities to incentivize development of affordable housing, particularly tailored to rural municipalities. And this comes into the labor supply shortage. As we know, we have a major labor supply shortage on all sectors, but specifically within the tourism sector, and housing is a big challenge as a part of that, because we don't have the housing to bring in the seasonal staffing. And then other things regarding to planning, so requiring municipalities to intensify development and approve more multi-unit residential buildings as part of their official plans. So these are all just a lot of recommendations in this report. I pulled out the ones that I highlight would impact us as a rural destination. But again, this is just as information at this time because the ministry has not commented back on this. Number 2 is a campaign to extend the Ontario Staycation Tax Credit. So some of you may recall in last year's provincial budget, there was a tax credit that was announced that would allow residents to claim up to $1,000 as an individual or $2,000 for families in travel costs. So there is a campaign right now for encouraging the provincial government to extend that into 2023. And so the OVTA has sent a letter supporting that. Number 3 is the Ontario Industry Health Check Report. Again, this is just an information, or a report provided for information, which is released by Destination Ontario, which is our provincial tourism marketing body. They release these reports quarterly, and it just kind of tracks the recovery efforts of our tourism industry. Unfortunately, the data is not provided at the county level, so it's provided at the regional level. So for our region, we are known as RTO 11 or Region 11, which includes Renfrew County as well as Haliburton County, Lanark County, Hastings County, and the northern portions of Frontenac and Lennox-Addington County. So the information you're seeing in the report is at the regional level of Ontario's Highlands. Number 4, I alluded to this in the earlier report, so this is just an update to let you know that we are beginning discussions with the City of Pembroke for the renewal of the OVTA's agreement with the City of Pembroke and the County of Renfrew. The draft budget was approved by the OVTA board in December, and so that will be presented to the City of Pembroke along with the renewal agreement. Number 5 is Tourism Relief Fund. Application. So the OVTA has submitted an application to develop a resident engagement strategy for the Ottawa Valley. A resident engagement strategy was an identified priority in our 2021 to 2023 strategic plan. So if the funding is approved, then we'll undertake that initiative. And if the funding is not approved, then we'll be looking for other funding programs to deliver that initiative. And that was part of the tourism relief funding, and that project would need to be completed by March 31st of this year. Number 6 is the Summer Experience Program. So the Ontario government has funding opportunities to hire summer students. So we have submitted an application to have a summer student for the OVTA for the summer. And if we're approved, the funding would cover 100% of the salary for that student. Number 7 is the 2023 Ottawa Valley Roadmap. So this is our annual print publication that the OVTA produces. It is being officially signed off with the printers today, and we will have print copies delivered in the next couple of weeks, and those are being inserted into all the athlete bags for the Ontario Winter Games. We also distribute a copy into every residential mailbox within Renfrew County, which is approximately 50,000, and then the rest are distributed at our various events through our tourism businesses, operators, provincial and regional visitor information centers. And that map is a revenue-generating opportunity for the OVTA. Number 8 is just an update on a partnership that we worked with Your TV in Pembroke to highlight some tourism businesses throughout the region. And so there was a number of promotional videos created to support a lot of our heritage assets within the region. So the Canadian Clock Museum and Nuclear History Museums in Deep River, both the Bonnechere Caves in Eganville, the Pembroke Heritage Murals, and the Barry's Bay Railway Station. And there's a link in the report there to view those videos. And you're more than welcome to share them out in your communities if you would like to help promote those businesses there. Number 9 is the Toronto Sun travel writer. We had in Calabogie the weekend of December 16th to 18th. They were there to experience the kickoff of ski season, as well as stay at the Somewhere Inn Hotel, and also did an ATV tour with Tom Urban Adventure Tours in the Calabogie region. And that story will be coming out probably in February, and so we'll be including that in February's report. Number 10 is just to highlight some of our local award winners at the Ontario Tourism Awards that were handed out in October in Huntsville. So Joe Kowalski, who's the owner of Wilderness Tours in Whitewater Region, was named Lifetime Achievement Award. Somewhere in Calabogie received the Sustainable Tourism Award, and Ontario's Highlands Tourism Organization, which is our regional tourism organization, received a marketing campaign award for the Connection Series, which featured a number of our businesses here in the Ottawa Valley, including the key video component of that, which featured Stephanie Van Wyck of the Madawaska Canoe Centre, which kind of led the award-winning series of that campaign. Final item on the report is just number 11. In December, the OVTA board has appointed Joel Kowalski to the OVTA board for filling a vacant position until the April AGM. And that completes my OVTA report.
Thank you very much. So we'll go back to information item number 1, the State of the Ontario Tourism Industry Report for 2022. Yes, Warden.
Thank you. Sorry about this. Very quickly, when I look at 4.2V sport tourism and it talks about $2.5 billion, of value, I think that's a number that's very, very impressive, and I think we have some internal numbers. The other one is, the one above it is the film tourism. I seem to remember a report or a meeting I was in 2019 which talked about the value to FONOM in Northern Ontario of the film tourism industry. And if that's something that we could find at some point and see if there's an entry for us into exploiting that, and I'll try and find the document. I thought the numbers were something like $145 million between Sudbury, North Bay, Thunder Bay, and all points in between, but I'm a little reluctant to throw that number out with any certainty, but it was a substantial number, which was quite surprising. And I think it might be tied to North Bay having the film course at the university there, but I'm not sure. But anyway, it's just something that if we can take a look at. Thank you. And then real quickly, item 10 and 12. This might be for, sort of a collaboration between this department and operations. Item 10 talks about infrastructure. E, investing in more electric charging stations. H and I, the private motor coach sector, and it talks about route options and stuff like that. So is that something we would do? I know we've done some of that in the past. We set out route options. Is that something we do, and is that what the report is intended to generate?
Through you, Chair. To your first comment, I'll have to go back and see if I can find that 2019 report, and I'll see if I can find that for you. For the motor coach sector, can you just point me to the page that you're on in the report?
It's transportation number 10, and it's recommendation H and I. So I don't see, oh, it's on page 36, I'm sorry. I didn't see the page, it was on the staple.
Yeah, so that's something definitely that we could work through. So we, in terms of our strategy for travel trade, we don't go after the large motor coach industry. That's something that we've kind of made a conscious decision with working with our travel trade partnership group. So we go after the smaller coach tours, and that's just due to capacity for our tourism operators. But definitely that's something that we can help identify through the smaller coach tours that we do, and help guide that through our routes that we have developed. So my reference earlier to the route Champlain, for example, so that's kind of our Francophone route. We've also got a number of other travel trade routes that are, for example, Snow Country Fun, that focus on maple products, our Canadian canoe route, recreational geology experiences. And so all of those routes that we do promote, they're always promoted as either a smaller motor coach tour or as what's called a fully independent traveler course, so as a one-on-one or couples travel.
Okay, thank you. And very quickly, nice to see number 12, the broadband section, A, B, and C. That's nice that it was a focus. So I really like this report. I think it's a nice outline. It's probably one of the best reports I've seen. You know, normally we just get a bunch of numbers and a sort of vague inclination that we should be doing something. So this is really well done. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And just to follow up on your comment on the film tourism, there was a presentation on CTV News this morning talking about that very same thing, that there's a real shortage of individuals in the film industry, and there's a push on now to try and attract more students into that, especially in that area in the north, where they are, I think, looking for some mentorship programs with some of the companies that are already doing film. So yeah, I think it's something that could require a little more investigation. Thanks. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Survey.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Melissa. Melissa, I'm just looking at that municipal accommodation tax and wondering if there are any statistics available that you could share with us, just in terms of municipalities in this county and, for that matter, all across Ontario, who have implemented it, what percentage they're using, and what kind of income it's generating, just for interest's sake.
Through you, Chair, yeah, we can definitely provide that at next committee meeting. Just for your information, there's no municipality in Renfrew County who has implemented the MAT at this time. A large number of municipalities across the province, including in other rural destinations and northern communities, have, and we can definitely pull that together and provide that at the next committee.
Any other comments? So item number 2 is the campaign to extend the Ontario Staycation tax credit. Great idea to keep travelers in Canada. Item number 3 is the Ontario Industry Health Check Report. Item number 4 is the renewal of the OVTA County of Renfrew City of Pembroke Agreement. Item 5 is the Tourism Relief Fund application. Item 6 is the Summer Experience Program. Yes, Councillor McKenzie.
I'm just wondering for a bit of background on that, and how, we got any idea how many students have taken advantage of that in the county in the past years?
Through you, Chair, through Jason's head. I would have to look into that. I couldn't quite tell you off the top of my head. I'm not sure. I know a number of our local businesses do apply to that program every year, as well as throughout the province, and it is an oversubscribed program. So not everybody is awarded that funding every year for that, but I can try and dig up some data for you and information for that for next report.
Thank you. Any other comments? Item 7 is the Ottawa Valley Roadmap. Item 8 is the video campaign with Your TV. Item 9 is the Toronto Sun travel writer visiting Calabogie. Item 10 is the Ontario Tourism Award winners. And finally, item 11 is the appointment to the OVTA Board of Directors. Thank you. So that finishes that report. And I think before we move on to the OVTA Association report, that we'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll be back at 11:15. I'm cognizant of the fact that we have a lot of information to cover, so normally I'd give you 10 minutes, but we'll have 5-minute break. Thank you. Welcome back. And we're going to continue with our Ottawa Valley Tourist Association report, and that begins on page 67. And Ms. Markwood, please.
Through you, Chair. So for the Enterprise Renfrew County report, number one, and waiting patiently in the back of the room, is our new program officer, Lindsay DeBurton, who I would like to introduce to committee this morning. Lindsay is our new program officer who started with us last Tuesday and is filling our vacant position that we've had for the past couple of months. So she's working with Heather Inwood Montrose, our small business advisor, to deliver some of our programs, but Lindsay will be primarily responsible for the summer company program. So welcome, Lindsay. Thank you. Number two on the report is just a little bit of an update on where we're at in terms of delivering Enterprise Renfrew County services. And this is outreach efforts from April 1st and up until December 1st of 2022. And just a note for committee that because Enterprise Renfrew County is funded provincially by the program, their fiscal year runs from April 1st until March 31st. So in this activity track, you'll notice the annual target as well as the year-to-date metrics received so far. And this has been all to the credit of Heather Inwood Montrose, our small business advisor. And as you can see, most targets have already been exceeded at this time with only two plus months left to go in the fiscal. On number three within the report, Starter Company Plus Fall Wrap-Up. So the fall session of the Starter Company program is now complete. That resulted in 18 participants completing the program and being awarded a total of $31,300 in grants. So just as information for committee, Starter Company Plus program is a entrepreneurship program for individuals aged 18 and older, and it's for those that have an existing business that want to expand or have a new business that they're launching, and so they can compete for grant subsidies of up to $4,000 each. And so the list of the successful program participants are included here, which is Chad Kendall of JP Waxington in Pembroke, which is a candle making business, Cody Stevens with Roots Dental Hygiene in Pembroke, dental hygiene services, Holly Molinar, which is OV Boss Babes, which is a very popular podcast that promotes women-led local businesses, Katrina Platt with Platt Foot Care in Killaloe, Tarwin Lane with Ottawa Valley Engraving in Westmeath, Tina Carr, who operates Christina Studio in Arnprior, Wade Banman, which is KMK Judo in Pembroke, Adrian DeCare, which is Barbies in Pembroke, and Chris Kite, who operates Beyond the Crystal Cauldron in Renfrew. And for this summer company program, we were able to deliver a little bit more in grant funding than we typically have because we were underspent in the summer company program in the summer, and so the province allowed us to divert the unspent dollars from the summer company program to the Starter Company Plus program, which allowed us to deliver a few more awards as a result of that. Number 4 on the report is workshops and training. In partnership with Renfrew County Community Futures Development Corporation, as well as the Upper Ottawa Valley Chamber of Commerce, Renfrew Chamber of Commerce, Local Immigration Partnership, City of Pembroke, Town of Renfrew, and Startup Ottawa Valley. ERC delivered a number of workshops throughout Small Business Week in October related to marketing, wellness, power and beliefs and leadership, and an in-person photography workshop. In November, a number of virtual training workshops were delivered also, including topics about mental health, workplace safety, and another marketing series. And then upcoming, starting this week, is tax series for business owners. And that's just prepping tax preparation for small businesses, remitting your HST, and tax filings and that type of thing. ERC is also working with the Town of Petawawa, City of Pembroke, and Laurentian Valley to support facilitations and final sessions for the Service Concierge program also. And those are related to storefront branding and product merchandising display and design. And then ERC is also helping to facilitate an in-person session on February 27th, which will be held here. On number 5 is, just as mentioned this morning in the overview, ERC has been approved for a $10,000 French language services grant, and that will be used to develop French language service training programs for entrepreneurs, as well as an in-person networking event. And all of that will be wrapped up by March 31st of 2023. And I will pause here before going on to the bylaw, Chair.
Thank you, Melissa. So let's go back to information item number 1, the staffing update. And so pleased that we have another new face in the Renfrew County team, and sure that there'll be no problem keeping her busy as well. Comments, questions? Item number 2 is the core business consultations and services report. Item 3 is the Starter Company Plus Fall Wrap-Up. Item 4 are the workshops and training. And item number 5 is the French Language Services Grant. Oh, sorry, Councillor Weir.
Just a question around the French Language Services Grant. It's for Francophone businesses. Is there any assistance for non-Francophone businesses to integrate to Francophone?
That's a great question. And yes, so this is an opportunity for businesses if they want to be able to improve their French language services, and they're primarily English, for example, as a first language, then yes, they would be able to participate to help retool some of their programmings to meet that market.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on any of the items? Seeing none, then please go ahead with bylaws. Melissa?
Thank you, Chair. So I will read the recommendation that the Development and Property Committee recommends that County Council pass a bylaw to transfer $3,300 of unspent summer company program funding to the Starter Company Plus program under the terms of the transfer payment agreement referenced in bylaw 62-22, being a bylaw to execute a transfer payment agreement for the provision of financial support for Enterprise Renfrew County from the province of Ontario.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation. Could I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Lynch, seconded by Councillor Service. Comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And then we will continue with the Enterprise Renfrew County report. And again, Ms. Marquardt.
Oh no, that terminates my report. I am done now, sir. I would like to gladly pass it over to somebody else because I think everybody's heard enough from me now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And yes, you must be tired of talking. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Rose for the Forestry and GIS Division report.
Thank you, Chair. So item number 1 is the forestry activities. Item A is the forestry activity tracker for the second half of the year. And as you can see, most of my time is spent on the core business of managing the county forests, and most of the forestry and trails technicians' time is spent on the Algonquin and KMP trails. Item number B, just a bit of background on this. So there was 3 school visits that happened between October and November. And the reason that we do this is because if you've ever looked at a textbook, you will see that the information about forestry does not tend to be very positive. The forest sector has always pointed out that public perception and job recruitment are 2 of the major issues facing everyone right now. So for the last 10 years, we occasionally do classroom visits to leave those students with a positive impression about forestry and let them know that there are lots of great jobs in the forestry sector. Kudos to the teachers that invite us to come. We have long-standing relationships with some of those teachers now who have become positive advocates for the forest sector, so thanks to them. Item number C is the harvest tenders for 2023, which were advertised for 5 weeks. We did get a lot of interest, but less bids than normal. So the results are posted in your report. And Laverne, Heidemann and Sons were awarded the tenders for Crow's Nest, Centennial Lake, and Pershik tracks. So So the total estimate revenue based on those 3 tracks for this year, 2023, will be around $136,000. However, there'll be a significant amount of revenue and activities carried over from 2022 that will push us far over our annual revenue expectations for 180 this year. I'll talk a little bit more about this year's situation in a minute, but basically, in the end, all of our actual revenue is based on the weighed actual volume harvested. Everything that you always see in these tables is an estimate based on field calculations. The tender for Ruby Tract was not awarded as the bids received were significantly below market value according to prices that we normally receive for similar forest types, talking about 40% below expected. So that wood will remain standing until market conditions improve. Item D, so the ongoing saga of black ash as an endangered species. This has been going on since early 2022, when black ash was listed as endangered, or it was classified as endangered in 2019 and listed as endangered in 2022. The county has been involved throughout the consultation process, providing comments with concerns about this designation. As you all may or may not know, black ash is a very common tree species in Renfrew County, so we've been pretty vocal about the potential implications that this will have. The protection measures have been suspended until January 2024, but a government response strategy is required by June 6, 2023. So we can expect to see that draft strategy sometime this winter, and we'll be reviewing and commenting on that as well. And all of this most recent information was derived from a virtual focus group that staff attended. Item number D, so during COVID times, many more people found themselves wanting to be outside, and with that increased use of forest land, we have inevitably been receiving more complaints and discoveries of misuse, including dumping of significant amount of garbage and animal carcasses. So this does take a, decent amount of staff time to follow up on and engage with the OPP and Ministry of Natural Resources to assist us in dealing with those issues where possible. Item F, 2 more historic wells were filled at Lorwall Lake Tract for safety and environmental reasons. This makes 6 wells that we've decommissioned since 2018, and these are associated with previous settlements. And as we discover them and have improved access through forestry operations, we have been getting those filled when the opportunity arises. And that's a budget item in our annual budget in the last at least 7 years. Item G, an update on the 2022 forestry activities. So right now we're on track to probably have about $160,000 in revenue for 2022, which is slightly below our annual budget revenue of $180,000. However, the average from 2017 to 2021 is $197,000. So, things go up and down. This was a bit of a weird year because of the blowdown that happened in May. Most of the operators were completely occupied with cleaning up blowdown for most of the summer and fall. So 2 of our operations received an extension for that reason, and another one has received an extension because it requires frozen conditions, and winter was short last year, and we have not even seen winter really yet this year, so we don't have any frozen conditions in the bush right now. So definitely an interesting weather year has impacted our operations. However, this will mean that we will incur that revenue in 2023 instead of 2022. Shall I pause there? Chair?
Yes, thank you. And we'll go back to information item number 1, the forestry activities. Questions, comments? We'll just go through the list. Item A is the activity tracker. Item B is the presentations to local schools. Item C are the harvest tenders for 2023. And I just had a question. You indicated that the number of tenders submitted has been lower than normal. Is that due because of less contractors out there, or are they just that busy that they don't have time to take on extra work?
It's a good question, Chair. I would imagine it's a number of factors, including the markets are slowing slightly. Everyone is very busy still with the salvaging and has probably overcommitted the amount of wood that they can cut. And also definitely workforce shortage. There's a real shortage of loggers out there, so maybe not able to commit to cutting.
Thank you. Any other comments? Item D is the virtual focus group regarding the black ash. Item E is the animal carcasses. Again, I'm curious, are we talking like dogs, cats, or is this like deer and larger animals?
Well, we've seen it all, but at this time it is complaints from the public about harvested deer carcasses being dumped in county forests and high traffic areas.
What about turkeys? Because there's a lot of them around.
Not at this time, but we have seen a significant number of geese in the past.
I just know the turkeys are on top of the railing on our deck. They're on the deck. They're around the house. They're a nuisance. Item F is the historic wells. And item G is, oh, sorry, Warden.
No problem. Thank you. Through you. Just a question for knowledge more than anything else. When you're filling in a well, do you need a permit from Ministry of Natural Resources or something like that? Or Ministry of Environment and Community, whatever, or sorry, Environment and whatever, I can't remember what the C stands for. Anyway, do you need a permit and a plan? Because I can't imagine I can just walk over with a truckload of brush and drop it in a well and say it's done. Thanks.
Through you, Chair, to the Warden. So this is something that we cannot do ourselves. We put out a request for quotes for providers who are certified to do the well filling. So they go through all the processes for us and provide us with the paperwork that they submit to the appropriate ministry, and then we have a copy on file. So it's a interesting process. I've watched them do it, and they have to do it according to the laws and regulations.
And if I might then, if I find an abandoned well on one of my properties, then I, in theory, and rightly so, would find an appropriate body, and they would lead me through the paperwork to do it properly?
Through you, Chair, they will do the paperwork as they do the work for you.
Thank you.
Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. To Lacey, once the key word was historic. Once you find this historic thing and it's filled, is someone responsible for putting a plate on to say this well was Warden Nemo's property in 18 whatever?
Through you, Chair, that is an excellent question. The definition of cultural heritage is somewhat of a moving target. So as you probably know, most of the county forests were settled until the 50s or 60s, which according to the Ministry of Natural Resources isn't cultural heritage. However, we treat the homesteads that were bulldozed upon purchase in the 50s and 60s as cultural heritage in our own database. So we protect the relics for historic purposes. And as far as the wells go, we just maintain a virtual database. They don't get capped, really. It's kind of filled in with an aggregate material, and over time they will just disappear, but we will have the digital information of where it was. It would be an interesting project to summarize all of the settlement history for the county forest, but at this time we only have like the deeds, the original deeds, and the sale and purchase information.
Supplementary.
Thank you, Chair. My thought would be if I'm a a farmer or whatever, and my homestead was there way back and whatever, in 50, 60 years from now, the heritage of my linear family, I can say, hey, you know what, that grid, and look on this virtual thing, or actually walk out there and see a plate that says this was the homestead of whoever. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other comments on that item? So item G is the harvest operations for 2022, which are summarized. So we will continue, Ms. Rose, with the rest of the items.
Thank you. Item number 2 is the GIS activity tracker, which is included in your report. Item number 3 is an update on the software small local government enterprise license agreement from ESRI. So the transition is progressing well of moving the lower tiers and county staff to the new GIS mapping systems. 15 of 17 of the lower tier municipalities have submitted requests for access to the ArcGIS mapping software or the ArcGIS online web mapping. Those 15 municipalities have been sent the required information to download the new software and access that new software. And there have been 2 training sessions by ESRI to lower tiers and economic and development staff.
Thank you. So item number 2, the GIS. Any comments, questions? And item number 3 is the ESRI software. I know our municipality is using it, and I believe staff really have enjoyed the new program. And that brings us to bylaws, so I'll go back to Ms. Rose to read the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. So this is about a cell tower. It's actually not Bell, it's a Rogers cell tower. So the recommendation is that the Development and Property Committee recommends that County Council pass a bylaw authorizing the warden and the clerk to execute a self-to-self transfer deed of land for part Lot 3 and 4, Concession 3, Geographic Township of Raglan in the Township of Brudenell, Lyndoch, and Raglan. So I'll pause there and can provide background if necessary.
So I'll ask for a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Weir. And I'll ask you to continue with the background. Thank you.
So in 2022, the process was started to evaluate a cell tower in the Ireland South Tract of the County of Renfrew. This was initiated by Rogers Communication, and who is in the process of trying to provide wireless voice and data for the surrounding area. This was discussed back in March 2022 at a DMP session. So moving further down the line in this process, the county's legal counsel, McNabb, Stewart, and Prince of Renfrew, advised the county that there is a bit of a glitch in the deed, which was actually discovered by Rogers as they were trying to move along with the survey process in picking the location for that tower. So there's an administrative error in the title report online, basically, that shows the corporation of the Township of Raglan as the registered owner of the land. And this likely resulted from the transfer of a small parcel associated with a discovered cemetery in 1997, where that tiny parcel was transferred to the township, but it seems like the entire parcel got grabbed virtually and transferred digitally only to the township. So Rogers has indicated that they require a clear title to work towards building the cell tower on that tract of land. There was a legal review back in 1963 of the ownership and deed, but the correct ownership was not reflected in the Ontario Land Registry.
Sorry, any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote then. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. So that concludes that report. We will move on then to the Real Estate Division report. And Mr. Raditz, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to the committee. The real estate report is found in the package on page 84, and it is a very short report. Item number 1 under information is and attached as an appendix is the summary report for the 2022 capital projects. And as you can see, we've had several projects completed, and also there's going to be some carryover projects for 2023. And I'll just add that this will be a reoccurring report, as it'll allow me to provide you information on the updates and status as projects progress throughout the year 2023. Item number 2 is the integrated community housing, and that is the 12-bedroom unit affordable housing that we intend to build in Pembroke this year. In November of 2022, last year, we did issue a request for tender, which closed on December the 6th, and unfortunately, we did not receive any bids. So the county staff, we reissued a request for tender December 22nd of last year, and the closing date will be February the 7th. So we are optimistic and confident that after February the 7th, we will receive some bids. And Chair, that completes my report.
Thank you very much. Curious how you got off so lucky. So we'll go to item number 1, the real estate and capital project report. And item number 2, the integrated community housing. I see no further questions, so thank you very much. And that means we are left with the Planning Services Division report. And Mr. Howarth, please.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm not sure how I got to follow Mr. Valiquette with his not Valiquette, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Brad, it's been a long meeting already. I haven't even got into my report and I've already messed it up. This is going to be a long. I'm just going to start then. Thank you, Chair. Page 86 is the Planning Division report. Information item number 1 is the Planning Division activity tracker. As you can see from the information provided, it has been a very busy year for the Planning Division. We had over 230 severance applications we processed this past year, which is over and beyond anything we've had previously. Typically, we see an average of 150 applications, so 230 is a significant number. In addition, we've had several plans of subdivisions that have been submitted. We've been issuing draft approval and final approval to several of those, and we've received 4 new applications this past year that would create an additional 470 units. We received a total of 217 formal requests for general inquiries or pre-consultations, and out of those 217, only 21 of those are outstanding. As some of the previous members of County Council and Committee could recall, we did have over this past year a significant backlog in these inquiries, so to have only 21 outstanding is a significant reduction of that, and we are getting very close, if we're not actually being able to meet our target of having those responses within 30 days. So kudos to our staff as they have been tackling that backlog, and we're getting closer to our target. In the last paragraph there, another significant increase that we haven't ever seen before. This past year, we received 11 official plan amendment applications, and compared to only 1 last year. So these applications take a significant amount of time, and committee, you'll start seeing these applications as they come through the committee cycle. So those, we've been processing those. And lastly, just talking about some of the special projects. Another component that we do is working on special projects as our time allows. We've been working on comprehensive zoning bylaw updates with local municipalities. We did complete one for Bonshire Valley. We are in the process of working with North Algona Wilberforce and Killu Hagerty Richards on their comprehensive zoning bylaw updates, and those 2 municipalities have drafts of their bylaw, so they're, I'll say, sort of halfway through the process. And then we have Laurentian Hills and Head Clare Mariah, who are sort of at the beginning of the process. We are in the process of drafting those bylaws and working on the mapping at this time, but they haven't yet been circulated to those local municipalities. And even though it's not in the report, the last thing I wanted to just highlight was over the past year, in addition to the work that we've been doing, we've onboarded 3 new staff members, which has been, a challenge, but also kudos to our staff as we have been working on getting training, and to those new people as well who've been outstanding in being able to quickly learn the role and become successful members of our team. And also, we've helped out several municipalities as they have undergone their own staffing challenges. So the County of Renfrew has helped out local municipalities where we can, as they've had their own planning shortages. Item number 2, planning orientations. At the request of several municipalities, county staff have been going out to local municipalities and attending local council meetings where we've provided a fairly detailed Planning 101 session. The information includes update on their legislative responsibilities, what the local council's role is, what the County of Renfrew role is, as well as providing an update on some of the recent changes to the Planning Act and other anticipated impacts. Item number 3, another information item, is on Bill 23. So as you'll probably hear quite a bit over the next few months, is all about change. So the province of Ontario has been looking at the planning processes and the Planning Act in general with an eye at improving processing times and also looking at ways to increase housing supply and also affordability. And so the province has announced a lot of changes, including some bills that have actually been passed. Later on in the report, we are going to be talking about official plan amendment number 35, which is a county official plan amendment in response to some of these provincial legislative changes. So on November of 2022, royal assent was given to Bill 23, called the More Homes Built Faster Act, and we are supportive of the provincial goal to increase this housing supply and to reduce the time and cost it takes to build homes. And I'll just provide a very quick, I'm cognizant of the time, so I'll provide a quick overview of some of the changes that Bill 23 introduced and how they may have impacted Renfrew County and some of our local municipalities. The first one is with regards to development charges. So this change would only impact the municipalities that have a development charge bylaw and implement the development charges. The bill now exempts certain housing types from development charges, being affordable housing, and there's a new terminology that's been added, but we don't know exactly, the definition hasn't been provided yet, so we don't know exactly what this will mean, but also attainable housing. So if a developer is, or somebody's proposing to build an affordable house or an attainable house, then that build would be exempt from development charges. And in addition, there's a bunch of other caps and regulatory changes with regards to how municipalities are required to spend and allocate those development charges. We haven't done a detailed review of the impacts of this, but a lot of municipalities I have seen who have looked at this more in depth estimate that this could have a reduction of around 30% on their development charges. So that will reduce development charges that municipalities will be intake by about 30%. So it's encouraged that local municipalities that do have development charges, that they have, especially their treasurers, look at this and look at the impact that this could have on the local municipalities. Third-party appeals. A new change is that for applications for consent and minor variances, no longer can somebody appeal that decision, which is a third party. So it's not, the applicant still retains their appeal rights, but for example, if you were a neighbor or somebody who lives close by to one of these applications, you no longer have the ability to appeal either a consent or a minor variance decision. So that's a significant change. Another, I'll say, significant change that we'll have to wait and see exactly how it impacts our local municipalities is third residential units. So this is also something I haven't seen before that the province has incorporated. So this bill introduces an as-of-right zoning to permit up to 3 residential units per lot with no minimum unit sizes in all areas of the province that are serviced by municipal water and sewer. And what this also does is it overrides any local zoning restrictions that would otherwise prohibit it. So as of right, if your municipality has an area that has full water and sewer services, property owners are now, as of right, allowed to have up to 3 dwelling units on each individual lot. And they could come in with building permits today to your local municipality, and they could obtain that building permit to build that. So how much uptake we have on that, we'll see. So you can see there could be some benefits to that. Obviously, increasing some density, also providing alternative housing options, whether it's through rental or some more affordable housing options, or especially with an aging population, that may provide some opportunities for staying at home or having aging parents staying with you. So there's definitely some benefits, but you could also see some challenges as municipalities deal with whether or not there's servicing capacity or things such as parking or just overall density. But so there's some positives and potentially some negatives with that change, but that is in force and in effect right now. Subdivision approvals. No more public meetings for plans of subdivision. So the province had already restricted or limited any public appeal rights for plans of subdivision, much like consents or minor variance applications. The public doesn't have the ability to appeal a plan of subdivision, and now the requirement for having a public meeting is no longer there. Changes to the Ontario Land Tribunal. The tribunal has been provided increased powers to dismiss appeals for undue delay. But I think one of the most significant changes is that the tribunal has now been given increased orders to order costs against an unsuccessful party. So much like the courts, if you were the losing party, the tribunal can now order costs. That is a significant shift. Previously, it was very rare, or it wasn't unheard of, but it was very rare for the tribunal to order costs against a losing party. So that could have a very significant impact on I'll say municipalities will need to be extra cautious when making a decision, that they don't want to be found on the losing side of an OLT hearing, because now you could be subject to that cost of the winning side. Site plan control, a significant change here. Developments of up to 10 residential units are now exempt from site plan control. And in addition, what municipalities can do and look at through site plan control has been reduced. So no longer can details with regards to architectural design or landscape design or aesthetics are no longer within the scope of site plan control. And also, we'll see this during the discussion under OPA 35. Some of the other requirements for complete applications have been changed. So we'll see some changes to OPA 35 later on the committee's agenda to address some of these changes through site plan control. There were significant changes for parkland dedication. A lot of them don't impact Renfrew County municipalities, because a lot of these do impact, they're geared at the, I'll say, higher density developments that use an alternative cash in lieu of parkland rate or additional or alternative parkland rate. All these municipalities in Renfrew County just use the standard 5% rate, which did not change, so there's not a significant change there for municipalities. Other than that, there is a requirement now to use the monies that are raised through cash in lieu of parkland, so you'll be required to spend or allocate 60% of those monies that you receive in each year. And also, one of the changes was before, municipalities would be able to sort of dictate or say where they would want their parkland to be located. So if you had a new subdivision application, you could say, this is our requirements for our parkland. We want it to be located in this location, and we want, one of the most important things, typically municipalities would want those lands to be unencumbered, so not subject to any easements or right-of-ways or anything like that. So the province has changed it, saying that municipalities get less of a say in where those lands are, and also that municipalities have to accept encumbered land, so they can't be just free of anything. So it could be a significant change depending on the proposal. Conservation authority. So the county doesn't have a conservation authority, so very little impact to us, but just for your information, that there have been significant limits put on what conservation authorities are allowed to comment on or provide permits for. So their role has been significantly reduced through Bill 23. And I believe attached to the report are several comments and letters submitted from various municipalities throughout Ontario. We've seen a lot of these come across our desk. I think just a few of them have been attached for information. This is some of the examples of some of the correspondence that have been sent to the minister. Item number 4, Bill 3, the Strong Mayors Building Homes Act of 2022. Again, attached as Appendix Plan 4 is a resolution from the Township of Lake of Bays in support of Municipality of Wawa's opposition to Bill 3. That's just an information item. And likewise, another information item is on Ontario's housing supply crisis. There's additional information and correspondence received from MMH providing an update on Bill 109. So at our public meeting on December 21st, one of the resolutions that was passed by Council was a request that the minister delay the implementation of fee refunds for planning applications if municipalities didn't make decisions in a timely manner. And I can say that that was adopted. So this letter from the minister says that we are going to receive a 6-month delay. So there will be a 6-month, so July 1st of 2022 is when those fee refunds are going to be kicked in. Is that, did I get that? 2023, sorry. Is it June? I think I got that right. I saw some.
Thank you. So
we do have a delay in when those refunds are going to be issued. To July 1st, 2023 is what it says. So maybe I'll stop there, Chair. Thank you.
Yes, we'll go back to the information item number 1, the Planning Division Activity Tracker. Certainly recognize how busy your department has been, and have all the planning positions, are they now currently filled?
Through you, Chair. Currently, we have 1 vacant position right now.
Timeline on when we might have that filled? Any idea?
The position was advertised, but I believe there are going to be further discussions through the budget cycle, and that through the reorganization that's being proposed, that will come back to committee and council for further consideration.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Councillor Bennett.
I just want to say thank you to everybody that had the planning on their plate and how well they've done to express what the municipalities were saying to them, that something needed to be done and how quickly they actually got it to a point of being well under control. So thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I would certainly agree that there was a lot of work that had to be covered in a relatively short period of time. Item number 2 is the planning orientations. Comments, questions? Seeing none, item 3 is the More Homes Built Faster Act. And I'll just go through each item individually. Questions regarding development charges. Third-party appeals. Third residential units. Subdivision approvals. Ontario Land Tribunals. Site plan control. Parkland dedication. Conservation authorities. Item number 4 is Bill 3, Strong Mayors Building Homes Act 2022. And item 5 is Ontario's housing supply crisis. Warden.
Thank you. I'd like to publicly acknowledge the efforts of our MPP, John Yakubuski. When we expressed our concerns to him, he quietly took them forward as he normally does, and I think, you know, in part that was the reason for the helped precipitate the the delay in imposing these penalties until July 1st, so I'd like to acknowledge his efforts.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. I believe the legislation's been introduced, but I don't think it's been passed yet. But that's just a point of clarification. That's all. That I think they introduced it just before the sitting, before they rose for the Christmas break. But I believe that's Minister Clark. I mean, come on, it's the province. I believe it's going to push through anyways. But I believe it's been introduced and going to be brought forward in January at the next sitting.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
If I may, through you to our CAO. So we'll seek clarity on that just to make sure it is official. The letter we did receive from the minister indicated that it would be done in a timely manner. So once we find out for sure, we'll send an email out or a correspondence out for the timelines. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll move back to resolutions, and I think I'll just have you go through all of the proposed changes, Bruce, and before I ask for a mover and a seconder. Thanks.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. So I'll just read the recommendation first and then provide the background information. So the recommendation is that the Development and Property Committee recommends that County Council accept the revisions to Official Plan Amendment number 35 and direct staff to further consult with the established Bill 109 More Homes for Everyone working group and the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing ahead of scheduling another public meeting. So by way of background, as committee will recall, just before Christmas on December 21st, we did hold a public meeting with regards to official plan number 35. And this is an official plan amendment that addresses some of the changes that have occurred in the past through Bill 109 and also the previous Bill 13. And we had proposed a host of official plan policies. These I would characterize as largely enabling policies. So these are policies that, under the Planning Act, if a municipality has the policies put in their official plan, you can direct how your planning processes work, and also talking about different delegation to staff of different decisions, such as for allowing staff to the responsibility and approvals of minor zoning bylaw amendments or other decisions that otherwise would have been made by council. So these enabling policies, they would allow a local municipality to use these, in the planning world, to use some jargon, or the tools. So you have tools available to you, and then but first you have to be able to use those tools, have the appropriate official plan policy in effect. So by putting these policies into the official plan, it would then allow a local municipality to come forward with various enabling bylaws, whether it's a delegation bylaw or a pre-consultation bylaw. So these policies in and of themselves don't actually create new processes, but it allows municipalities the option to move forward with any of these things. And I should say it allows the municipality, including the County of Renfrew, to utilize these tools if so directed. As a result of when we first proposed this official plan amendment number 35, there wasn't a Bill 23. So after we drafted and circulated and held the public meeting, then Bill 23 was introduced, and Bill 23 has already made our official plan amendment obsolete. So we had to come forward with some new changes to address, for example, the site plan control changes. We also introduced those 30-unit policies, which we discussed about allowing a 30 unit in a fully serviced area. And in addition, based on some of the consultation that we had with our various stakeholders, that we changed some of the terminology in the official plan amendment. So before we were using the terminology of trying to say what a general inquiry was versus a pre-consultation, and some found that confusing. So we changed it. We didn't change the intent of the official plan policy, but we changed some of the jargon of the terminology, calling it a pre-consultation and then having a stage 1 pre-consultation and a stage 2, as opposed to having two different sort of processes. So it was trying to identify that it's the same process. It was just the level of detail could change based on the complexity of that application. In addition, I just wanted to point out that we did work with our working group to come up with these recommendations. In addition, we did consult with municipalities across Ontario and also with provincial staff, and that the changes that we're proposing are in line with what municipalities across Ontario are implementing. And the province did not indicate any concerns with what we were proposing. So in the report, you'll see that we did have that public meeting on December 21st, and we did also receive a number of comments from the public at that meeting. We tried to summarize what the main comments or the relevant comments and concerns that we received, and then we did provide a planning response to those concerns. I won't go through, just for the sake of time, through them in detail, but our response is there. And perhaps I'll just jump to the end of it. So, yeah, as we had indicated at the public meeting in the information above, since the passing of Bill 109 and the drafting of the official plan 35, we've made some changes, and what this will necessitate is a further public meeting. And so what we're suggesting is that these changes be accepted by committee and going forward to County Council for their approval, but also that we consult back again with that working group and with the province again ahead of holding that public meeting, and then to move forward with that at that time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Howarth. So you've heard the recommendation. I'll ask for a mover and seconder, and then we can open it for discussion. Moved by Councilor McKenzie, seconded by Councilor Watt. Questions, comments? Warden.
Yeah, thank you. I know you're surprised. So through you, Chair, page 93, the second box under planning staff response, the form letter that's talked about it, sending back, just the comment was about little clarity providing the requirement. So what does this mean in terms of the form letter? Is it, I'll call it a grocery list. Is it a grocery list sending back, yes, you've completed 3 steps or 4 steps, or is it necessary? So I'm just curious about that.
Sorry, Chair, I'm just trying to find the location on page 93. And
it's, sorry, the middle, there's four boxes, and it's the middle one that says this letter is not intended to slow down the process, but to provide clarity that the peer review process has been completed. Because the theme has been the peer review process is premature, I think, throughout the presentation.
Yeah, so, yes, through you, Chair. What we wanted to do was make a definitive saying you've completed your pre-consultation stage so that there would be no ambiguity about where we are in the process. So the idea was to prepare that the policy would say that upon completion of that pre-consultation process, that the applicant or the person who's proposing a development application would be provided with some type of written correspondence, whether it's a form letter or just an email, but some type of indication from the approval authority. So whether it's the County of Renfrew or the local municipality, whoever's responsible for that approval, would provide them with some type of written confirmation that they have completed their pre-consultation process and that they can proceed to submitting that complete application.
Thank you. Follow up.
Thank you. And then page 95, the last box about, it's the front loading of significant components. And again, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure because the comment says the proposal to front load the review is not in keeping with the spirit of the legislation, which is to speed up timelines and improve timelines. And so with that, I'm curious, because there's not a solution there. There's not, we either up staff, which I don't think we're recommending that at this point, at least not in this document. And then in the second instance is, I don't think that from what we heard that night, that the planning community that's employed by the private sector also has the capacity to do that. So is that part of the conversation you're going to have with the working group if there's a common means forward?
Through you, Chair. You are correct. We don't have a perfect solution. So what I would like to say, neither does anybody else in the province, unfortunately. So we're all in this together, and we don't have a solution. This is the best solution that we've come up with so far. We don't have any other options, so we're not really looking at any other alternatives at this time. we are open to suggestions if somebody finds the magic bullet or the silver bullet that would be the cure to this. We're all ears open, and we'd love to work and come up with be a part of that solution. But at this time, we don't have it. So this is our sort of our best recommendation, or putting our best foot forward at this time, is to avoid those financial penalties without having to upstaff or hire all those experts. Or, we also want to we don't want to have to start refusing applications based on getting close to that timeline. So looking at all the alternatives, this was sort of our best recommendation, which is in line with what other municipalities are doing. But you are correct. I would say this is not the ideal. There's no ideal solution that we have, but it's sort of our best one that we have at this time.
Thank you. And just if I might, sir, one more. So the page 99, your last comment, the report's last comment, sorry, is agreed that OPA 35 will not likely improve the overall time it takes to review a planning application. So again, I think that's something we need to stress. And so these comments are criticism. It's more me just making sure I understand it, because I'm assuming that all of us in the chambers over the next few months will be explaining this on a regular basis, informally at best. And so I was just making sure I understood it. So thank you.
Thank you for that. And Councillor Service.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Bruce. On the night of December 21st, we had several delegations that came forward and expressed concerns, and I think we all got the same message, that their biggest concerns were in terms of subdivisions and condominiums and not having to go through a extensive pre-consultation process, because those two items were not included in that sliding scale of refunds that the government had imposed. So I guess my question is, did we do enough to address their concerns here, specifically with the subdivision and condominium pre-consultation process with what we're proposing? I guess both in a written form and verbally to these, to our developers here in the county, I guess.
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Chair. So the way that the policy is worded, again, these are enabling policies. So we've left in the planned subdivision and consent and condominiums at this time as council may. So to utilize these policies, again, a further bylaw, a delegation bylaw, or a pre-consultation bylaw, for example, would need to be brought forward to use these. So at this time, there's no proposal to implement a bylaw to require mandatory pre-consultation for consents or plans of subdivision, but staff may bring forward something in the future. But what this also will allow us to do is we can also look at the processes that some of the local municipalities implement, because they, for example, the site plans and zoning bylaw amendments do have these fee bylaws. So if we look back at the experience that the local municipalities are going to be going through the next year, and we may find that this to be a very good process. So if we see a lot of benefit that the municipalities are able to turn this around and enjoy using this, then maybe something in the future that we bring forward to say, if it works for zoning bylaw and site plan, so let's try to use it for consent and plans of subdivision. But at this time, we are not proposing that, but we are would like to leave it in the policy as an enabling policy to use that tool if in the future we want to. So these official plan amendments do take up a lot of time, and they do cost the county quite a bit of money to undergo these processes. So if we were to take it out, for example, then if we wanted to use it in the future, then we'd have to replicate this process again. But by leaving it in as an enabling policy, it would allow us to use these tools in the future, but it would require committee or a bylaw passed by Renfrew County Council to use these tools. So it's not an automatic that we will do it, but it's, again, it's an enabling policy.
Thank you for that. And my only question was that I know from the public meeting, one of the concerns brought up by the private sector was the fact that they believed that the county was operating outside of the Municipal Act. And maybe you could provide assurance that this is a process, and you have mentioned that a lot of other municipalities in the province are using this same approach, and it hasn't been one that has brought any sort of negative feedback from the province. And I think that's important going forward, that people really understand that we're not trying to create something new here.
Thank you, Chair. That's correct. So this is not something that's brand new. So certain municipalities have already been using this method or this process for years. So it doesn't contravene the Planning Act. There are, so it is prescribed in the Planning Act that municipalities, provided that they have the official plan policies in effect, can dictate how they want their pre-consultations to go, whether it's through mandatory pre-consultation, and through their official plans you can spell out exactly what is required for a complete application. So the Planning Act allows the municipality in the County of Renfrew to undertake this and pass these policies and state what a complete application is. And as you stated, there are several municipalities that have been doing this for a long period of time, and through conversations with our colleagues and also with the staff members at the province, that municipalities across Ontario are employing the same technique that we are proposing here.
Thank you. And I know I did ask you if you could provide a list of municipalities that are already using this process, and you indicated you got positive response from staff, but nobody willing to put it in writing, correct?
I did have a conversation after a public meeting with provincial staff, and I made that request to them whether they could provide a list to us. So they indicated they would attempt to do that. They would try to give us a list of or examples of municipalities. I can give you verbally a bunch of them. So I know that just through circulation, like the County of Renfrew receives circulation from other colleagues and partners. So for example, Frontenac County has already adopted and is imposing these the same proposal. We've seen it from North Frontenac. I believe some of our local municipalities here have already implemented or are looking at the same proposal. Hamilton is an example of a municipality that has already been doing this for years. The city of Aurelia and a lot of those municipalities in Simcoe County area have also been already passed these places. So there are examples across Ontario, and just like us, many municipalities are just in the process of implementing this as well. And hopefully when we circulate the province, they will be able to provide that list. I did make that request to them if they could provide some examples. And if we get that list, then I can share that with committee.
Thank you for that, Bruce. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? And that's carried. So back to you, Bruce, to go through the last resolution or bylaw.
Thank you, Chair. So the very last one, item number 7, is a bylaw, and I'll read the recommendation and just provide a very brief background. So the recommendation is that the Development and Property recommends that County Council pass a bylaw to repeal Bylaw 102-18, being a bylaw to adopt an official plan amendment number 29 to the County of Renfrew official plan. The background is that County Council adopted Bylaw 102-18. It is attached in the committee's package. This official plan amendment was to allow for an expansion to the Cell Quarry in Bon Cher Valley. Back when this application was first submitted to the County of Renfrew, at this time the province was the approval authority for any amendments to the County of Renfrew official plan. When that official plan amendment was sent up to the province, the ministry did not approve the application due to it being incomplete, and my understanding is that it was never deemed complete due to a payment of the fee. So back in 2018, when the province approved these official plan amendments, the province had a fee of, it was greater than $15,000 to approve the official plan amendment, and that was cost prohibitive for many people. Since 2018, and with the approved update to the County of Renfrew official plan, the province gave us exemption from their approval. So now people no longer, or applicants no longer have to go through that extra step of going through the province and no longer have to pay that $15,000 fee. So what has happened is that the owner has asked us to repeal that bylaw, that 2018 bylaw, and they have already resubmitted an application which essentially does the same thing, but it will be now reconsidered with the County of Renfrew as the approval authority and no longer subject to provincial approval or to that substantial fee. So you'll see that, committee will see that bylaw come forward in a future future committee package and recommend that it move through county council. But at this time, the first step is to repeal that previous one. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Howarth. So you've heard the recommendation. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Lynch. Any further comments, questions? Warden.
Just at some point when we have it in front of us, can you include that history about the $15,000 fee? Because, I wouldn't want to be dependent upon my memory if somebody asked me about it. So it's just, in fairness to the applicant, it's nice to have it on paper in a report. Thank you.
I'm getting a nod ahead that staff can do that. Councillor Lynch.
Thank you, Chair. To Bruce, with this $15,000 that's no longer available, were we getting that as income to the county in any way or any portion of that?
Through you, Chair. No, that was money that never came to the county. That was the fee that the province charged for an official plan amendment approval. So with us obtaining exemption from that, and the province no longer has said they no longer need to approve these official plan amendments, that is just approved by the County of Renfrew, the applicant now saves that $15,000 by them not having to pay it to the province.
Thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that's carried. I'll also now need a mover and a seconder to approve the report as a whole. Moved by Councillor Service, seconded by Councillor McKenzie. Any further questions or comments on the report as a whole? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. And we do have a closed meeting today, so...
Chair, do you want to talk about new business first?
Oh, I'm sorry. New business first. My apologies, I missed that. Is there any new business? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Day.
If I may, Chair, so under new business, we just, late last week, we did receive notification that our delegation request at Roma to AMAFRA to talk about the Line Fences Act dealing with trails was approved, and so we will be a delegation to AMAFRA at Roma. So just an FYI for your information, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So the next item then is I'll need a mover and a seconder to go into close to discuss information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board of Canada, province or territory or crown agency of any of them, and it's regarding flood mapping program and active transportation funding. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Watt. All in favor? That's carried, so we will now move into close. Thank you and welcome back. I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Davis to read the recommendation.
Thank you, Chair. And the recommendation is that the Development and Property Committee recommends that the County Council pass a bylaw authorizing the warden and clerk to enter into an agreement with the Province of Ontario, Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, through the Natural Resources NRCan for the Flood Hazard Identification and Mapping Program, or FHIMP. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Lynch, seconded by Councillor Watts. Comments, questions? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. The date of our next meeting is Tuesday, February the 14th, 2023. I'll need a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Bennett, seconded by Councillor Weir. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you all very much. I know it's been a long meeting. Hopefully there'll be lunch for you.